Chapter 387, Center of Attention, 1. Chapter 387, Center of Attention, 1. Boom. When the thread appeared, the entire underworld was overwhelmed by the sanction coming from the Sacred Enforcer and the response from the Sacred Followers Guild. Every sacred sect had a law enforcement department to deal with some external underworld matters. In another way to exhibit the mightiness of a sacred sect. Sacred Enforcer was the law enforcement department of the Sacred Followers Guild, targeting any clans and families who were going against the Sacred Followers Guild. As the only law enforcement team of the Sacred Followers Guild, they had extreme powers. The entire team was comprised of foreign-born experts. If they faced stronger opponents, they could send out the elders of the Sacred Followers Guild. Among all the sacred sects, the Sacred Followers Guild was the only sect that was formed by allying ties. Their guild leader was the #1 most powerful existence on the Miracle Doctors chart. The rest who joined were either formidable miracle doctors or experts who received kindness from some of the miracle doctors. The elder team of the Sacred Followers Guild had a strong presence as well. Each of them possessed a strength that was inborn and above. On top of that, they had impressive connections. The sacred sect that was formed by the various miracle doctors was ranked at number 6 among 9 other sacred sects. They were just short of some foundations. But even so, a sacred sect is, after all, a sacred sect. Not many people could withstand a killing order or a sanction from a sacred sect. Even as mighty as the assassin organization, the Dark Conjurers, was, they could only hole up when the sacred sect issued a killing order to get rid of them. Not to mention, it was an assassin organization that was good at hiding. Now, it was only a factionless doctor, regardless of the fact that he was known as the demon-like genius now. Everyone hurriedly clicked on the thread. Under the thread title, there were a few words: "The dead body shall be revealed." Everyone in the underworld was stunned and shocked. Looks like the Sacred Followers Guild is utterly outraged. They gave a response immediately on the underworld website that night, announcing that they would be revealing the dead body. That was an explicit announcement, telling everyone that they are going to kill Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. Now that the Sacred Enforcer team has made their move, I bet they are rushing down to Rivertown tomorrow. This time there should be 6 to 7 inborn experts or even more. He's doomed. Not many people can survive the killing order from sacred sects unless Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown decides to go on hiding without Sacred Followers Guild finding out. Could this rare demon-like genius get punished by the Sacred Followers Guild? But thinking of it, that's the price he needs to pay for killing an elder of the Sacred Followers Guild. Some of them from the Underworld website sighed after they saw the thread published by the Sacred Followers Guild, in which their response did not come as a surprise to them. As a sacred sect, it was normal for them to take revenge for killing one of their elders. Despite the fact that the other party was equally strong with demon-like talents. Compared to those who analyzed objectively, there were more people who were gloating at the misfortune or even beginning to sneer at Wang Xian. Sacred Enforcers fight anyone brazen. After Wang Xian there will be others. Who asked you to be insolent? I bet you're shocked now. Ah, what demon-like genius. How dare you play punk? Now you're getting punished. Anyone going to Rivertown tomorrow? Let's watch the demon-like genius getting himself killed and we can take a photo too. Ah. All the geniuses in the world who have not grown up are all trash. Only when you're a grown-up can you call yourself a genius. So what if you're a demon-like genius? You're getting punished anyway. Many martial artists in the underworld jeered at it. A 20-year-old demon-like existence had attracted much jealousy. Now that he was going to be punished, they were all excited, rejoicing in other people's misfortune. Many people were getting ready to make a trip to Rivertown to watch how the demon-like genius get himself killed. It was more exciting to watch with their own eyes. So what if you're a demon-like genius? You're going to get killed. The entire underworld was bustling at night. At the break of dawn, the weather was gloomy. With Rivertown in the rainy season, the sky was gray and the rain was going to fall. Young master, here's the announcement from Underworld. Mo Qinglong was looking cold as he walked over when Wang Xian was carrying Xiao Yu and Elder Fong to the roof in the morning. What did it say? When Wang Xian saw him, he poured himself a cup of tea and walked towards the yard, gazing at Xiao Ran, who was cultivating. Sacred Followers Guild announced on the website that they will be punishing you to avenge the elder of Sacred Followers Guild, said Mo Qinglong. Her? Wang Xian froze for a moment and looked at Mo Qinglong. He raised his eyebrow and squinted his eyes. Are they going to punish me? Young master, this was the announcement released by Sacred Followers Guild yesterday. As Mo Qinglong spoke, he handed his phone over. Sacred Enforcer is the department in Sacred Followers Guild that deals with external affairs. They are formidable and represent the entire sacred sect. Hee. Wang Xian read the message on the phone with a smile on his face. I was going to look for them. I did not expect they would come looking for me. Now the 4 inborn levels Dragonians are at the villa by the side. So is Mo Yuan. A trace of murderous intent flashed in Mo Qinglong's eyes. No matter the number of people who turn up or who they are. Leave no one alive. Wang Xian handed the phone back to Mo Qinglong with coldness in his eyes as he watched Xiao Ran practicing. Currently Xiao Ran was already in martial artist level 9. It would be slightly challenging to attain a breakthrough to half-step to inborn. Perhaps he would take a few years and probably another 10 or so for the inborn level. Of course, that was under the circumstance that he did not take any spiritual grass or elixir pills. If he had sufficient elixir pills as supplements, he could make a breakthrough to inborn realm within a short time. As for the killing order of Sacred Followers Guild, Wang Xian did not take it to heart at all. He was resting in his villa, enjoying his leisure time. While doing so, a group of strangers stormed into Rivertown. About 7 or 8 luxurious black Audi cars drove in from another province with middle-aged men and some elders sitting inside. Beside them were all the razor-sharp weapons, exuding formidable mightiness. All of them were in black uniforms with Sacred Followers Guild words in the middle of their shirts. The 2 cars that were driving at the forefront held all the elders. Each one of them gave off a vibe of a supreme leader. As the 8 cars steered towards the sea, their target was the Supreme Sea's development zone. Apart from the 8 unified Audi cars, there were also dozens of cars driving towards the Supreme Sea's development zone too. All the young men were sitting within the luxurious sports cars, driving at an extreme speed. Vroom. As the vrooming sound was heard, all the sports cars were already parked at the entrance of the Supreme Sea's development zone. Apart from those sports cars, there were some SUVs, totaling to more than 30 luxurious vehicles. All the dashing young men stepped out from those cars one by one. Some of them had babes in their arms as they smiled from ear to ear, while some of them were simply thrilled. Chapter 388 Center of Attention 2. Chapter 388, Center of Attention 2. Young Master Jiang. Ah, you are pretty early. A young man alighted from a Lamborghini and walked towards the young man in a Porsche a short distance away as he spoke. I'm here for a show and it's only natural for me to arrive early. The men from the Sacred Followers Guild should be coming soon. I might miss it if I'm late. Young Master Jiang had a head of red hair. He smiled as he observed his surroundings. There are quite a number of people who came for the show. Haha, of course. We are talking about the most demon-like genius and the #1 person on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. The fact that he will be punished soon is naturally a draw. From an SUV that was nearby, a plump man alighted with a smile. I'm so jealous of him. At the age of 20, he's a miracle doctor that ranks 9th, a powerful alchemist and a horrifying inborn expert. I would be so happy that I would wake up from my dreams if I had any one of his achievements. A handsome man who was wearing a suit and tie alighted from his vehicle. He looked towards the villa as he sighed emotionally. Jiang Yuan Guda Lu Kaiping. You guys must be really free to come all the way here. Aren't you the same too? Otherwise, what would you be doing here? I came here to witness if this miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown is as incredible as he is in the rumors. Several young men alighted from their vehicles. Some knew one another while others didn't. However, all of them were part of the ancient martial arts circle and thus would at least have heard of one another's names. Jiang Yuan, isn't this Supreme Sea's development zone a seaside development of your family? The young man in a suit walked towards the red-haired Jiang Yuan and asked with a bright smile. That's right. It is developed by one of my family businesses. Jiang Yuan smiled and nodded. Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown stays here. He is not an ordinary man. No one in Rivertown dares to mess with him. He's not just capable. Based on the information I have gathered, Miracle Dr. Wang embarrassed the Flame Palace during their pilgrimage. Nonetheless, Flame Palace has since been annihilated. The young man in a suit said with a bright smile. However, his eyes were filled with jealousy. Having such terrifying strength and authority at the age of 20 would make anyone envious, including elites from these famous families and sects. Flame Palace was just a newly promoted sacred sect and paled in comparison to the Sacred Followers Guild. Since Sacred Followers Guild have made such claims, they definitely have the confidence to follow it through. Jiang Yuan smiled and continued, my only question now would be if this miracle doctor has escaped. Based on my sources, he is still in the villa. I wonder where he gets his confidence from to wait here for the sacred enforcers. Diske. The young man in the suit snorted, the villa is by the sea. If he wishes to escape by the sea, it won't be easy to find him. You're right. If he were to escape to the sea, even the experts from Sacred Followers Guild would not be able to do anything. However, if he were to escape today, he would have to lower his head and live in shame in the future. Jiang Yuan nodded in agreement. What do you guys think? Will Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown escape? A young man walked over and asked loudly. Another young man smiled and made his conjecture. This is really hard to say. However, my own personal view is that the chances of him escaping are over 70%. Regardless, I'm going to start a thread on the Underworld website and do a live stream for all to see. A young man took out his phone, took some photos of the surroundings and started crafting a thread on the Underworld website. Title of thread, Punishment of the Sacred Enforcers. Will the demon-like genius cower like a turtle, or would it put up a resistance against the sacred followers? Let me make my conjecture first. The genius Miracle Dr. Wang will definitely be dead. A thread that was filled with mockeries and some photos of the surroundings was started by the young man. At this moment, a young man exclaimed, the vehicles of the Sacred Followers Guild are here. Instantly, silence shrouded the area. Although they were all rich young masters, they were nothing in front of the Sacred Followers Guild. Moreover, those that came this time were the Sacred Enforcers and Elders from the Sacred Followers Guild. A single elder from the Sacred Followers Guild was already more powerful and influential than their entire family. 8 Audi cars stopped at the entrance of the Supreme Seas Development Zone, and a group of people alighted from these vehicles. Those are the elders of the Sacred Followers Guild, and there are 5 of them. They have sent 5 elders. The surrounding group of young men were astonished to see these old men alighting from the first 2 vehicles. The 5 old men's identities were evident from the clothes they wore. Look behind them. Those 2 enforcers are captains of the enforcing teams. Oh gosh. They have sent 2 captains over. The rest of the group is made up of 20-odd half-step to inborn experts. Oh gosh. The team that's been deployed this time is so powerful. 7 inborn experts and 20-odd half-step to inborn experts. Considering the strength of the team that is here, the Sacred Followers Guild appears to be determined to kill Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. As the elders of the Sacred Followers Guild are well versed in medical knowledge, their attacks are much stronger than ordinary inborn experts. They are definitely not the same as the inborn experts from the 9 Lotus sect. 7 inborns. Seems like the Sacred Followers Guild are placing emphasis on this issue. This Miracle Dr. Wang is doomed. The surrounding group of young men discussed softly among themselves. As for the young man who had started a thread on the Underworld website, he enthusiastically took photos of the experts from the Sacred Followers Guild and uploaded them immediately. Sacred Followers Guild has deployed 5 elders and 2 captains of the enforcement teams. If Miracle Dr. Wang doesn't escape, he will definitely be killed. After editing his captions and attaching the photos, he sent them out immediately. At this very moment, the appearance of this post attracted the attention of umpteen martial artists in the underworld. The whole thread was exceptionally active and the audience was waiting anxiously for new updates. Damn it. 7 inborn experts. This is enough to annihilate a few first-class forces. Sacred Followers Guild has indeed acted quickly. This Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown is doomed. This is the consequence for offending a sacred sect. Even such a demon-like genius is about to be killed. A genius will be falling today. There were new comments made in this thread every second. The Underworld forum was incomparably lively and countless martial arts families and sects were paying attention to it. Greetings, elders from the Sacred Followers Guild. I am Jiang Yuan from the Jiang family of the Northern City. This property belongs to our Jiang family. Let me bring you over. Jiang Yuan mustered up his courage, walked towards the elders from the Sacred Followers Guild after seeing them alighting from their vehicles, and spoke deferentially. The few elders from Sacred Followers Guild looked at Jiang Yuan and glanced at the group of young men who were here to watch a show. The elders were nonchalant about their purpose and waved their hands. Bring us over. One of the elders said plainly. Yes. Elders, please follow me. According to my sources, that brazen Miracle Dr. Wang is still in the villa. However, I don't know if he has escaped by now. Chapter 389, Since you are here, don't bother leaving. 1. Chapter 389, Since you are here, don't bother leaving. 1. How dare he kill the elder of our sacred followers guild? Even if he escapes to the ends of the earth, he's a goner. An elder said emotionlessly as he headed inside. Beside him were 4 other elders who looked on with a face of apathy, while a group of aggressive-looking sacred enforcers followed behind. The looming sense of brutality sent chills to the group of youths nearby. Even though they were merely tagging along at the back, they could clearly sense the overpowering aura coming from the sacred enforcers. With his back slightly bent forward, Jianghu directed the way for the group from the Sacred Followers Guild by taking the lead. The crowd, made up of scores of men, walked into the villa with faces of intense somber. Towards the end of the path, they arrived at a villa by the sea. Jianghu turned towards the elders of the Sacred Followers. Elders, this is the villa. Miracle Dr. Wang is right in this villa. He explained respectfully. This is the place? One of the elders asked flatly. With narrowed eyes, he looked beyond the entrance gates of the villa, which was currently wide open. He's really obnoxious, leaving his doors wide open. Is he waiting for us to enter? Another elder commented with glistening eyes. He's asking for doom, a burly elder in the middle snorted before striding into the villa with wide steps. Be careful, old who. Watch out for traps. Another elder cautioned as he watched from the back. Humph, then I shall experience for myself the powers of this wicked genius. The burly elder dismissed the advice with little regard. Thereafter, he braced himself while a powerful force of aura surged from within his body and filled out every inch of space his attire could hold. Let's go, the elders who had yet to make a move called out before following behind and making their way into the villa. Let's tag along. Since the elders from the Sacred Followers Guild did not chase us away, let's follow behind, the rest of the group whispered amongst themselves. Let's distance ourselves further away, lest we get implicated should a fight really break out later, one of them reminded. Don't worry, given the prowess of the Sacred Followers Guild, they'll crush that fellow. We're very safe behind them. Another disagreed. These youths who had tagged along behind the elders hesitated for a brief moment before following behind their steps into the villa. Boom. A loud blast resonated across the sky. The weather was overcast as dark clouds loomed above before rain started to pour. Trespassers who take even one step into the villa shall die. A voice spoke apathetically to the crowd. To which, the crowd of youths looked inward in astonishment. Within the courtyard, a young man was resting beneath the parasol by the swimming pool. With a tea set placed beside him, the young man sat idly while raising his head to gaze at the light drizzle with a calm and serene face. Alongside the young man were 7 others, which consisted of 4 youths and 3 middle-aged men. It was the middle-aged man who stood nearest to the young man that spoke. Amongst the septet, no one could tell the exact background of the 4 young men. As for the 3 middle-aged men, one of them looked very eye-catching with his really lengthy hair. Haha, the burly elder who had arrived by the door let out a dry laugh. His mouth hung slightly open while he stared at the young man beneath the parasol. You're the lad who killed Elder Feng? Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown? The burly elder asked before he strode inside as ferocity raged in his eyes. Trespassers who take even one step into the villa shall die. Another plump elder laughed as he looked at the warning sign beneath his feet before marching in. A factionless doctor who killed our Sacred Followers Guild elder and pit himself against us. I wonder who gave you such courage. Or should I say, I wonder what gave you the confidence such that you dare utter these words? The plump elder continued. Meanwhile, the other elders flooded their way in one by one. Immediately after, they were followed by a group of over 20 sacred enforcers who shot the 8 ahead a murderous look. Come on, let's get inside too. Trespassers shall die? What a joke. How obnoxious for someone who's about to meet his doom. Jianghu smirked as he watched members of the Sacred Followers Guild make their way in. As he joked, he slighted the 8 inside the villa dismissively, shooting them a look of disregard. Haha, since they've said that trespassers shall die, I'm all the more tempted to get in. Another youth dressed in a suit giggled as he skipped into the villa. At the back, the youths who followed along began to scurry in one by one without a care. As for the middle-aged men who mentioned how trespassers shall die, have they shrugged it off completely? Perhaps they're still unaware of how powerful the forces of the Sacred Followers Guild will be this time. A youth laughed to himself as he smirked, while posting about the situation online. He took a couple more photos and attached them along with his post, smiling as he did. We've entered the villa of Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. Beside him are 7 others. What made me laugh though was how they said, trespassers who take even one step and shall die. Ah, how hilarious. The youth chuckled till his eyes formed slits. As he laughed, he raised his head and looked into the villa. Wow, 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 he cheered. Wang Xian. You've killed our Sacred Followers Guild elder. Accept your doom. Just then, the ringing of swords being drawn from their sheaths could be heard. One by one, the sacred enforcers began to flash the weapon in their hands. The atmosphere within the villa was overwhelmed with an omen of carnage. Astonishingly, even the raindrops dispersed themselves towards the perimeter and beyond as if in fear. Ha! Wang Xian snickered as he lowered the teacup in his hand onto the table. Raising his head, he looked up and scanned the crowd of experts from the Sacred Followers Guild. I did not look for you people. Little did I expect you guys to come looking for me instead. Splendid. Wang Xian laughed. Obnoxious and arrogant young lad, the burly elder chided as he looked at Wang Xian, who sat somewhat aloof. I have to say, young lad, that you're really impudent. To think you've got the nerve to be waiting for us here. Right now you've dug your own grave. So I'll leave you a complete body. He added. A wicked genius who has been regarded as a rare occurrence in this millennium. Did you think that you're already invincible? How dare you disregard our Sacred Followers Guild? I'll give you a chance to end your own life now. Another elder mocked right after the burly elder finished. Just as the second elder ended his words, a terrifying stance oozed from his body and forced its way over, in an attempt to cocoon Wang Xian. Ha, we'll give you a chance to self-terminate, the rest of the elders chimed in unison. As they took a step forward, they too were oozing with the same stance. Meanwhile, the group of sacred enforcers swiveled the weapon in their hands as they stood behind. Boom. Their threatening tenor filled the air within the villa. Across the sky, deafening thunder clapped once again as the drizzle grew into a thunderstorm. Blob blob. Yet, there was still not a drop of rain within the entire villa as they had been blocked off by the powerful stance. Being tough as steel, the stance simply terrified all. Simply formidable. They're really too powerful. With 7 unrivaled inborns and over 20 half-step inborns, they could even take down 9 to 10 inborn experts. One of the onlookers praised. The elders of the Sacred Followers Guild are too forceful given such stance. Even our clan leader falls behind by a huge gap, I'm afraid, another agreed. To think that even the rainwater has been forced out of the perimeters. Their stance is truly rock solid. Such is the powerful force of a sacred sect. With so many experts, what enemies can they not take out? The third gasped. This young lad is doomed, the last sniggered. Chapter 390, Since you are here, don't bother leaving too. Chapter 390, Since you are here, don't bother leaving too. Just commit suicide now. You are courting death by killing an elder from the Sacred Followers Guild. That's right. Get on your knees and commit suicide. A sacred sect isn't someone a factionless doctor like you can afford to offend. Demon-like genius? Number 1 on the outstanding young heroes chart? So what if you are? If you offend us, even a genius will be sent into his coffin. Feeling the stifling and horrifying aura from the group of experts of the Sacred Followers Guild, the 30-odd young men who had followed behind were exhilarated and started ridiculing Wang Xian loudly. Commit suicide? Sacred Followers Guild is indeed brazen. Asking me, Wang Xian, to commit suicide? Wang Xian stood there and looked at the crowd before him. His expression turned cold as he lifted his head. An elder from the Sacred Followers Guild poisoned my sister. I promised a senior that I would only look for you guys 5 days later. It appears now that my decision then was wrong. Today, every single one of you can forget about leaving, said Wang Xian. At the same time he curled his fingers slightly into a claw. Haha, you are still thinking of resisting? Fine. Today I shall kill every single one of you in the name of punishment of the Sacred Followers Guild. The burly elder broke into laughter upon seeing Wang Xian's reactions. He pulled out a long sword from his waist as he waved his arm. I, Hu Fu, shall behead you personally to avenge old Feng and in a memorial to his spirits. Ah, the Sacred Followers Guild wants to punish me? Since you guys are here, don't bother leaving. As Wang Xian completed his sentence, he charged towards the group of elders from the Sacred Followers Guild. Haha, you are indeed worthy of your name. This kind of arrogance is incomparable. Seeing Wang Xian charging forward, The burly elder laughed brazenly. I shall claim your life. Kill? The burly elder struck and the other elders behind him shouted coldly in unison. In an instant, the 7 inborn experts from the Sacred Followers Guild moved. The 20-odd half-step to inborn experts who were wielding weapons also launched their attacks at Wang Xian. The solemn atmosphere instantly turned into a savage one. The expressions of the group of young men instantly changed upon sensing the intense killing intent masked in the atmosphere. The genius is about to die. The show has begun. Ah, that miracle Dr. Wang is indeed brazen. He is the first person I've seen who is so arrogant. It will be against all expectations if he survives after acting so brazenly in front of a sacred sect. The group of young men took several steps back and watched in anticipation. They were waiting anxiously for the demon-like genius to be slain. Kill? At this moment, Mo Qinglong snorted coldly upon seeing the Sacred Followers Guild attacking. Rumble. Instantly, terrifying auras could be felt emanating from the 7 of them. Devilish aura circulated around the 6 of them. As for the remaining middle-aged man, he wielded a long sword and the killing intent from him was even stronger. Show no mercy. Mo Qinglong's voice sounded again. The group of 7 charged towards the sacred enforcers. The aura that the group of 7 emitted shocked the experts from the Sacred Followers Guild. Inborn. 7 inborn experts. The burly elder was astonished and his pupils dilated. What? There are 7 inborn experts? Those 4 young men are also inborn experts? The elders beside him were also stunned. They looked at the 7 of them and were aghast. These 4 young men looked like they were at most 30 years old. They would never have expected these 4 young men to be inborn experts. A 30-year-old inborn expert would have made it to the top 5 in the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. Even a sacred sect would find it hard to nurture this kind of prodigy. Yet, the 4 young men before them were all inborn experts. Those who oppose us, the Sacred Followers Guild, will be hunted and annihilated. This includes your families and sects. The burly elder shouted gloomily. 7 inborn experts had definitely exceeded their expectations. In their opinion, even though Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown had good connections, he could at most call up 3 or 4 inborn experts. However, this was under normal circumstances. Considering that he was facing the Sacred Followers Guild, who would be willing to risk offending a sacred sect to help him. The Sacred Followers Guild had been certain after considering Miracle Dr. Wang's connections. It would be a safe estimate to say that only a maximum of 1/3 of them would help him. However, 7 inborn experts appeared suddenly. This completely exceeded their expectations. A force with 7 inborn experts would be considered very strong within the underworld. For this enforcement mission, only 7 inborn experts were deployed. Kill. Leave no man alive. Ruthlessness flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. The next instant, he moved and appeared beside the burly elder. His fingers bent like a dragon claw and were packed with dreadful powers. Arg. However, before Wang Xian's attack connected, pitiful cries erupted from the surroundings. The 4 Dragonians who had just reached the inborn realm had charged into the group of 20-odd half-step to inborn experts. Complete domination. With the strong bloodline and powers, the Dragonians could be considered as above average among inborn experts despite just having reached the inborn realm. The Dragonians could easily kill these experts who were just at the half-step to inborn realm. What? 7 inborn experts? How could this be possible? How could this be possible? How could he summon 7 inborn experts? Moreover, they have no qualms with killing the sacred enforcers of the Sacred Followers Guild? Are they all willing to make a sacred sect their enemy? 7 inborn experts. 7 inborn experts. How did he call upon so many experts? Furthermore, these experts are willing to stand up against the Sacred Followers Guild. The surrounding group of young men was astonished when they saw the 7 inborn experts. No one would have expected that the people who stood beside the young man were 7 inborn experts. Those 4 men were at most in their 30s. How could they be inborn experts? Where did these inborn experts come from? Jiang Yuan's looked in fear at these inborn experts that had appeared suddenly. The miracle doctor did not escape because he was confident in his strength. He didn't mind making the Sacred Followers Guild his enemy. The young man in a suit was stunned as he mumbled. Around him, the other young men were all dumbfounded. The sudden appearance of 7 inborn experts together with Miracle Dr. Wang, who was ranked number 1 on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. This force. Sacred Followers Guild can't kill him. remarked one of the young men with a gloomy expression. Arg. Old who? Elder who? Suddenly, a wretched scream propagated throughout the villa. The group of young men was taken aback and immediately turned towards the direction of the scream. What? As they looked over, their eyes widened and were slowly filled with horror. At this moment, the burly elder had a huge wound in his chest area. His eyes widened and stared in fear at the young man before him. Bam. Chapter 391, Since you are here, don't bother leaving. 3. Chapter 391, Since you are here, don't bother leaving. 3. Bam. The burly elder fell flat onto the ground while all vitals from his body disappeared in a flash. Within a short few seconds, another elder from the Sacred Followers Guild had been taken down, making everyone shudder in utter shock. This had been an elder from a sacred sect, which made him one powerful elder to think he had been taken down with one strike. This time, all the young men could see that the young man had not resorted to using any inborn spiritual weapons. Many within the underworld had rumored that it was because of the inborn spiritual weapon that the young man could defeat inborn experts easily. Yet the young man had not used any weapons right now. Nonetheless, he had killed an elder from the Sacred Followers Guild under such circumstances. Horror of horrors. Young lad, off to hell you go. Otherwise, we, the Sacred Followers Guild, will never rest till one of us dies. An elder from the sect hollered with a contorted look. As he shouted, he aimed for Wang Xian's head with the sharp knife in his hand. Never rest till one of us dies? Then all of you from the Sacred Followers Guild shall perish today. Wang Xian retorted coolly as the energy of the metal dragon made him shimmering golden. Under the gloomy weather, the glow made Wang Xian shine like a glorious and powerful monarch. As he arched his claws, he slashed 4 other elders of the Sacred Followers Guild who were standing at his side. TSK TSK TSK. As his arms swung past, the frightening golden claws lashed at the quartet. The energy of the metal dragon made the 4 elders flinch. Buzz off, one of the elders shouted as his eye twitched in trepidation. The seemingly ordinary attacks from this young man had made him sense an impending danger of death. The golden scratch marks appeared as though they could tear his body apart, causing him to resist them instinctively out of fear. Wang Xian watched with an apathetic look. Given his current powers, getting rid of an inborn was an easy feat. As he saw his claws being restrained by the 4 elders, Wang Xian shuffled them about and turned to strike at the elder who stood in the center of the group. Scram! The elder barked as he saw Wang Xian's claws coming for him while he attempted to block them by smacking his long sword in front of him. Creak crack. Ah! The elder let out a cry. Yet the terrifying claws cut right through the precious sword and stabbed the elder's chest. As the piercing scream rang in the air, the hearts of everyone around palpitated. You're not of the inborn level. You're definitely not. The elders gasped. At the sight of how easily Wang Xian had taken down their comrade, the remaining 3 elders of the Sacred Followers Guild shrieked with contorted faces, while one of them growled with wide eyes. An inborn expert can't be this powerful. Even if you're half-step to Dan Realm, you can't be this strong either. Another elder exclaimed. As he spoke, he stopped his attacks and retreated several steps back involuntarily before looking at Wang Xian in disbelief. He seemed very relaxed after killing one of their elders with a single strike. Such a formidable feat could not have been achieved by an inborn expert. In fact, not even a half-step to Dan Realm. While they also had half-step to Dan realms within the sacred sect, none of them could match up to the prowess of this young man. As 2 elders had been killed, the remaining 3 from the Sacred Followers Guild shuddered as they looked on with fear. Just what sort of person had they offended? Ah! Did you really assume that I, Wang Xian, fear your Sacred Followers Guild? Wang Xian snorted as he took a glance at the bodies which lay beneath him. With a shift of stance, he lunged straight at the last 3 elders for attack. Like I said, all of you will have to die. Wang Xian howled. You! The trio shook at the sight of Wang Xian coming for them. Their haughtiness and confidence of the past were now replaced with trepidation. From the looks of it, the mention of self-termination earlier. Just then, a series of piercing screams rang out continuously, drawing the attention of the 3 elders from the Scared Followers Guild. They saw the leader of the Sacred Enforcers crying out in despair, as one of the middle-aged men from Wang Xian's gang seared right through his body. They also saw the numerous members of the Sacred Enforcers getting slayed by the other 5 inborn experts. One by one move at a time. Just how could that young man be this powerful? Little wonder why you dare to wait for our arrival here, and why you dare to pit against us Sacred Followers Guild. One of the elders choked with his fists tightened while his face seemed very pale. How's this possible? This is impossible. Absolutely impossible. The group of young men who had come in hopes of a good show shrieked with eyes wide. They looked on at the sight in front of them in disbelief. To think that powerful experts of the Sacred Followers Guild had been massacred without the slightest resistance. Within a short 2 minutes, 3 inborn experts had been slayed, while the remaining 3 had no means to resist at all. Before this, the elder of the Sacred Followers Guild had mentioned that he was not inborn. So that means, one of the youths gulped as he watched in stupefaction. Realm above inborn. He must be at the realm above inborn, being able to slay an inborn expert with such ease. He's definitely a legendary immortal of the land. He continued. What? How's this possible? He's only 20 years old. How can a 20-year-old be this powerful? The group of young men stared with wide eyes while their legs nearly gave way due to the thorough shock. It's doomed? All experts of the Sacred Followers Guild are doomed. So it turns out that he had no need to fear the Sacred Followers Guild at all, given such formidable prowess. Little wonder why he didn't run away. Slaying all experts of the Sacred Followers Guild without the slightest reservation. He's out to become their nemesis. Standing in a daze, the young men shook at the sight of the massacre. They had come to witness the slaughter of the demon-like genius, Miracle Dr. Wong from Rivertown. But little had they expected such an outcome. A reputable sacred sect ended up crushed, slayed with such ease. Ah! The blood-curdling screams rang through the air once again. All the young men looked on bleakly as they watched the final 3 elders of the Sacred Followers Guild being taken down. Bam bam bam. The corpses lay on the ground as though the thunder from the sky had blasted right through their hearts. As the screams dissipated, another 20+ corpses were added onto the ground. Subconsciously the young men receded several steps back. In awe and with fear, they gazed at the young man who remained standing amidst the chaos while not a trace of blood could be seen on him. The young man remained as before, without the slightest stir of emotions, as he appeared calm as still water. But the crowd had witnessed otherwise, how this young man had taken down 5 inborn experts within a mere few minutes. Where the 5 were elders from a sacred sect. Blob blob. One of the youths gulped. As his legs began to turn to jelly, he turned around in an attempt to get out of the villa. He wanted to get as far as he possibly could, away from this hellish place, as his heart surged with an outburst of regret and trepidation. He would never have come here, had he expected such an outcome. Shaken, the rest of the petrified crowd also tried desperately to make their escape, upon the sight of someone leaving. Like I said, since you're here, don't bother leaving. Right then, a satanic voice lingered in their ears. Chapter 392 Death of the Sacred Enforcers. Chapter 392 Death of the Sacred Enforcers. As I've said, since you are here, don't bother leaving. Rumble. Swish. Torrential rain fell. However, it was not stopped by the terrifying aura this time, and the torrential rain fell in the yard of the villa. Hearing the devil-like noises, the group of young men froze in fear. Although they were thinking of escaping, all they could do now was shiver in fear. The raindrops that landed on their cheeks were eerily cold. Every single one of them was petrified. Wong. Miracle Dr. Wong. This had nothing to do with us. We are just here to take a look. One young man turned and spoke to Wang Xian while shivering in fear. The cold sweat on his forehead together with the raindrops made him look especially wretched. Compared to his high-spirited self previously, he looked like a completely different person. Bam. Miracle Dr. Wang, I know I'm wrong. I'm wrong. But please spare my miserable life. Please let me off. We were blinded to have come. Miracle Dr. Wang, I know my mistakes now. Please give me a chance. Jiang Yuan immediately went on his knees, kowtowed and begged for mercy. However, it was he who had brought the group of experts from the Sacred Followers Guild previously. Furthermore, he'd added insults. At this moment, as he saw the blood mixed with the rainwater flowing to him, his eyes were filled with despair and horror. He had disregarded all sense of dignity as he pleaded for mercy. Bam. Bam. Miracle Dr. Wang, it was our mistake previously. Please let us off. I am begging you. I kowtow to you. Miracle Dr. Wang, we were wrong. Please spare our lives. Please spare us. All the young men had broken down. When the first one went on his knees, the rest followed quickly. Fear was written all over their faces. Wang Xian looked at them with ridicule and contempt. Just a while ago, they were still gloating over his punishment from the Sacred Followers Guild. What about now? When you came, didn't you hear what I said? Since you came in, you have made your own decision. Wang Xian looked at the group of young men before him. Killing intent flashed across his eyes as he turned around and headed back to the villa. Since they had made their decision, they would have to pay a price for it. No. Please don't kill us. The young men were in despair as they saw Wang Xian leaving and the 4 young inborn experts walking slowly towards them. They were shouting for mercy loudly. Arg! Arg! However, the screams lasted only for a short while. This bunch of elites from various families and sects would never have expected that coming to gloat at Wang Xian for being punished by the Sacred Followers Guild would lead to their death. At this moment, Sui Huang appeared at the entrance of the villa. He looked at the corpses in the villa and raised an eyebrow. He then quickly looked towards Mo Qinglong and the rest before shaking his head and leaving. The sacred enforcers had been annihilated, and so had the group of young men who came for a show. The sacred enforcement this time ended with total annihilation. However, everyone was still waiting for the outcome on the Underworld website. They were waiting to see the Sacred Followers Guild uploading pictures of the corpse of Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. That post from the young man was still being discussed actively on the Underworld website. The number of replies was increasing at an astonishing speed. OP, hurry up and update us. What is the situation now? Did Wang Xian get killed? Hurry up. Hurry up. Let us see the demon-like genius corpse. What a shame. A demon-like genius like him appeared before us like a meteor and will be disappearing quickly like a meteor. 7 inborn experts and 20-odd half-step to inborn experts. This will be more than enough to kill Miracle Dr. Wang. OP, update your post. The replies kept piling up as everyone was rushing the OP to update his post. They wanted to see the scene of the demon-like genius being killed. Time passed by gradually. 1 hour. 2 hours. Yet the OP was nowhere to be seen. The martial artists of the underworld were as restless as cats on a hot tin roof. What happened to the OP? Are you eating shit? Why aren't you updating? Hurry, hurry. What is the situation now? I can't wait any longer. Yeah. Just look at the novel Invincible Divine Dragon's cultivation system. Their updates are so fast. Why are you so slow? Hurry up and update OP. I, your father, have been waiting here for 2 hours. However, just as everyone was waiting for the ending, another thread surfaced. All my friends are uncontactable. Those that have gone to Rivertown for the show are all uncontactable. It has been over 2 hours since I heard anything from them. When this thread appeared, it instantly attracted the attention of many people. When they clicked in and saw the contents, their expressions turned heavy. Last night, many people had decided to head to Rivertown to watch the Sacred Followers Guild kill Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. This was known by many in the underworld. However, all those people who went to Rivertown were all uncontactable. Furthermore, the previous OP had gone silent after updating it for some time. All these facts when pieced together made the rest feel that something wasn't right. Even the OP who made the new thread felt that something might have happened to his friends. Encountered a mishap? Sacred Followers Guild is a reputable sacred sect. They wouldn't kill those who came for the show recklessly. If that was the case, only one possibility remained. They were killed by others. And the others could only be Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. When someone made this conjecture, everyone was shocked. With the experts from the Sacred Followers Guild around, how could Miracle Dr. Wang kill innocents? What is happening in Rivertown? Where are the experts from the Sacred Followers Guild? Why aren't we getting any information from the Sacred Followers Guild now? I have a bold conjecture. Could it be the Sacred Followers Guild and those who went for the show were all killed by the Miracle Doctor? How could this be possible? The team that was sent down by the Sacred Followers Guild this time around was incomparably powerful. How could they be killed instead? The discussion went on. Gradually half a day passed. In the evening, a new thread appeared suddenly and took the entire underworld by surprise. We can almost verify that all the experts, elders from the Sacred Followers Guild and those who went to Rivertown to watch the show have been killed. The poster had the name All-Knowing. It was from the Omniscient Group, the most powerful information agency in the underworld. Once the Omniscient Group confirmed an event, its reliability would be 100%. When this thread was posted out, it was like the underworld experiencing a 10-0 earthquake. The powerful experts from the Sacred Followers Guild had all been killed. All the powerful elders and captains of the Sacred Followers Guild were dead. Death of the Sacred Enforcers. Chapter 393 Cover Shame. Chapter 393, Cover Shame. Demise of the Sacred. When everyone saw the post uploaded by user All-Knowing, the entire underworld was thrown into upheaval. Demise of the Sacred. This was the demise of the Sacred. 7 inborn experts along with 20 half-step inborns. These forces could easily have made up 1/5 to 1/6 of the entire Sacred Followers Guild, given such prowess. Yet, they were also the same forces that had been completely wiped out. Without a doubt, they must have been killed by Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. This is really unimaginable. Just how powerful is this Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown? Those were experts from the mighty Sacred Followers Guild, 7 of them to add to it. First, he killed the elder from the Sacred Followers Guild. Next, he slew 7 inborns from the same sect. He's out to pit himself against the sacred sect. How tough is this Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown? And how mighty are his forces? Within the underworld, the martial artists had spiraled into a heated discussion. The news was simply too shocking for all of them. Meanwhile, within the palace of the Sacred Followers Guild, all the elders sat in the palace hall with darkened expressions. 5 elders, 2 sacred enforcer leaders and 20 half-step inborns have been killed. This Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown, he's bent on pitting himself against us Sacred Followers Guild. An elder chided with a looming look. We've lost 7 inborn experts in one shot, 8 including Elder Feng. The Sacred Followers Guilds incurred such major losses within a short few days. We have to seek revenge for this. Right now, this concerns the pride of our Sacred Followers Guild, along with our foothold as to how we establish ourselves in the future. Hence, we have to wipe this humiliation clean. The elders chimed in furiously. This was a grave matter. It was no longer a matter of right or wrong, given the murder of 7 inborns and 20 other experts. As a sacred sect, they would have to get rid of the murderer by all means. We'll have to kill Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. Yes, we'll have to, otherwise our Sacred Followers Guild won't ever have to think of gaining a foothold within the underworld from now on. All the elders snapped in aggression. Even Yin Shi, who had been sitting by the side, sighed as he knit his brows. 7 inborn experts had been slain. This was no longer a matter which could be forgiven out of kindness. Mfkill? Sending yourselves to your graves? At that moment, a holler could be heard across the entire palace. Who's that? Upon hearing those words, all senior management of the Sacred Followers Guild in the palace hall stood up with an ominous expression. Who's that? Show yourself. How dare you trespass into our Sacred Followers Guild, asking for doom? A frightening aura surged from the sect's senior management which stifled the surrounding air. Alright, why so snobbish? A voice replied in annoyance. Thereafter an elder soon appeared within the hall at lightning speed. Sui Huang. All the elders of the Sacred Followers Guild gasped before they stepped up immediately and bowed. Sui Huang, what brings you here? They greeted. Had I not arrived, the entire Sacred Followers Guild could have been wiped out by the time old Huang gets back. Sui Huang replied with displeasure as he glanced across the crowd of elders. Sui Huang, you, the elders began in bewilderment. Slightly irritated, they looked at him with frowns. The Sui Huang in front of them had been a close friend of their guild leader. He was also the Laozu of a sacred clan, which made Sui Huang a legendary existence, one who they could not afford to disrespect. Just the few of you punks and you want to go kill that behemoth of Rivertown? From what I see, I think it's best that you guys just stay here and behave yourselves, Sui Huang chided. Damn it, you guys are also asking for it. I just told that lad yesterday not to come and create trouble at the Sacred Followers Guild. In the end, you guys went over to seek death by harassing him. Sui Huang reprimanded them with displeasure. As he spoke, he sat flopped onto a seat by the side and sipped some tea. What? The crowd asked. They were puzzled and shocked by the comment. Regarding this matter, you guys should just stay out of it. Wait till I've contacted your guild leader and discussed this with him. To sum it up, just don't go looking for trouble with that little demon of Rivertown. Just you guys alone would be sending yourselves to your graves should you go over. Sui Huang warned the rest. Just stay here and behave yourselves. As for old Huang, that old fogey, I couldn't reach him. Yet he's made me so worried. Pat. As Sui Huang ranted incessantly, he flung his cup onto the table in a display of his discontent. With a change of stance, he vanished from the palace hall, leaving behind the crowd of Sacred Followers Guild elders who looked on in surprise. What does Sui Huang mean? One of the elders asked in a lowered tone as his face contorted in bewilderment. Sui Huang has instructed that we leave that little demon alone. Seems like Sui Huang knows that Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. Furthermore, that Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown is no simpleton. Either he really possesses formidable powers, or he's from a very prominent background, such that even Sui Huang Sr. has to treat him as someone with equal standing. That young man. Don't tell me he possesses the same prowess as Sui Huang. Otherwise, why is it that even Sui Huang would refer to him as Little Demon? Shock gradually revealed itself on the faces of the Sacred Followers Guild elders. The message within Sui Huang's statements earlier had brought more surprises than they could handle. Especially these sentences in particular. I just told that lad yesterday not to come and create trouble at the Sacred Followers Guild. In the end, you guys went over to seek death by harassing him. Don't go looking for trouble with that little demon of Rivertown. Just you guys alone would be sending yourselves to your grave should you go over. The messages hidden within had astonished them. Should that young lad really possess the same prowess as Sui Huang or guild leader, or come from an equal force, then Elder Feng really had it coming for using poison to attack his little sister. If that's the case, it's because of Sui Huang's intervention that the other party hasn't made his way here. Otherwise, to think that we'd go seek revenge without even knowing the situation? Yin Shi laughed at the irony of the matter. Such was the pride of a powerful ancestral clan. Should others have killed one of theirs, a powerful ancestral clan would seek revenge with neither a care for the cause nor a concern about the consequences. Yet, the Sacred Followers Guild had obviously compromised themselves by underestimating their opponent this time around. What do we do about the discussion that's spreading within the underworld? Surely we can't just sit back and do nothing? An elder asked with an awful look. After all, their reputation still mattered. Just come up with a random excuse and we'll discuss this again when guild leader is back, another elder replied with a darkened expression. Silence filled the entire palace hall of the Sacred Followers Guild as the elders pondered in a daze. At night, the entire underworld was still discussing the massacre of the Sacred Followers Guild experts and disciples of various clans who had tagged along to Rivertown. Suddenly, the Sacred Followers Guild made an announcement. A group of experts from the Sacred Followers Guild have been attacked by ferocious sea monsters, of which only 3 of them have survived. As for other matters, they will be dealt with upon the return of the guild leader. Everyone within the underworld was dumbfounded by the news. What is the situation? The group of elders and sacred enforcers of the Sacred Followers Guild had not been massacred by Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown, but instead had been marred to death by ferocious sea monsters. While the news had been beyond everyone's expectation, most chose to believe in it after a brief moment of bewilderment. After all, this was an announcement made by a sacred sect, so they could not have made the story up in order to lie and conceal the truth. But what they did not know was that this was the final cover shame by the sacred sect. Chapter 394, Mutated Divine Dragon, 1. Chapter 394, Mutated Divine Dragon, 1. They weren't killed by Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown, but based on all other objective signs? In an office in a skyscraper, a middle-aged man wearing a suit saw the reply from the Sacred Followers Guild on his computer screen. His eyebrows knitted together. Based on the information gathered by the personnel from their omniscient group, the experts from the Sacred Followers Guild and the crowd that came to watch the show had not left the villa of Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown after entering it. As to what really happened, they couldn't be certain. Nonetheless, they were sure that these people were dead. Therefore, their omniscient group had announced the deaths of the experts from the Sacred Followers Guild. Following the operatives of the group closely to ensure 100% reliability, they didn't confirm that those people were killed by Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. Were they killed by savage beasts from the sea? Could it be that Miracle Dr. Wang has a dreadful and savage sea beast as a pet? Or could it be just like what the Sacred Followers Guild claimed, that the experts encountered an accident with savage beasts from the sea? At dawn, Rivertown was covered in a storm. Most of the truth was masked or washed away. Even the omniscient group found it hard to verify most of the information, and they weren't 100% certain. Nonetheless, a lot of martial artists felt more relieved at this point. If the experts from the Sacred Followers Guild had been killed by Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown, that demon-like existence would be truly too terrifying. At this very moment, within a cave abode deep in the mountains surrounded by flowers and birds. It was a luxurious and beautiful cave abode. A beautiful lady and a burly middle-aged man were sitting in the center. Before them, a group of middle-aged men stood upright and neatly. "Don't we have any news on Yao Quan yet?" The beautiful lady gritted her teeth and her eyes were a little red as she questioned the burly middle-aged man before the group of middle-aged men. "Madam, we still do not have information on young master at this moment. From what we gathered from the people around the Yellow River, we understand that young master had some conflicts with Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. Subsequently, we found out that young master contacted the family head of the Lei family and the double-faced heavenly axe before his disappearance," the group of middle-aged men replied solemnly. The disappearance of Bien Yao Quan had caused a huge ruckus within the Medical Saint sect. The Bien branch of the Medical Saint sect was expending all efforts and resources to investigate. However, Bien Yao Quan and the Poison Duo had kept their actions completely secretive and hadn't told anyone about them. Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown? The burly middle-aged man sitting by the side frowned as his expression gradually turned heavy. With the Poison Duo around, even a strong first-class force would find it hard to erase them without leaving traces behind. This Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown? A gloomy light flashed in the eyes of the burly middle-aged man as he spoke bitterly. It had been close to half a month. His son had been missing for close to half a month. With Poison Duo protecting him, ordinary first-class forces would find it hard to kill them without leaving traces of clues behind. Based on the rumors of Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown over the last 2 days, he would likely possess such capabilities. Find out more about this Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. I want every piece of information regarding him, instructed the burly middle-aged man. Yes, sect leader, the group of middle-aged men responded in unison before leaving. Qing Feng Yao Quan will be fine. You will be fine, said the beautiful lady with teary eyes as she grabbed onto the arm of the burly middle-aged man. He will be fine. I'm bien Qing Feng. No one dares to harm my son. No one dares. The burly middle-aged man tried to console the lady. He lifted his head and wore a stern and fierce expression. If anyone dares to, he will die no matter who he is. At night, a yacht was steering towards the sea from the villa connected to the sea. Brother, will you really be able to cure my master and me in the Dragon Palace? It was a little dark and the heavy rain continued pouring. The group sat on the sofa of the yacht when Xiaoyu suddenly asked Wang Xian this. Of course. Rest assured. Brother will be bringing you to a place filled with miracles. Wang Xian nodded his head with a gentle smile. When night fell, Wang Xian decided to not wait any further. He got up and brought Xiaoyu and Elder Fang along as he steered towards the Dragon Palace. He planned to make use of the tremendous energy within the dragon transformation pool to transform the two of them into dragons and cleanse the venom lingering within their bodies. This was also his last-ditch attempt. Really? I didn't get to go the previous time and I definitely have to make it up this time. It's a shame that the final examinations are coming up soon. I'll likely miss it this time. Xiaoyu was initially exhilarated but soon pulled a long face as she spoke. The semester was coming to an end and the final examinations would be starting soon. However, she would likely miss the examination. It's all right. I'll settle the matters about your examinations. Wang Xian smiled and shook his head as he continued, Where would you like to go for the winter holidays? I'll bring you around. Winter holidays? When Xiaoyu heard Wang Xian, her eyes lit up. I want to roam the entire country from the south to the north. For the summer holidays, I want to head overseas to play. Xiaoyu let her thoughts roam and revealed a satisfied and joyous expression. All right. When you recover, I'll bring you around. Wang Xian nodded his head and Elder Fang beside him also smiled. Next to her, Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue and Sun Lingxiu walked over. With a group of beautiful girls accompanying him, Wang Xian had a great time chatting and eating. Late at night, the yacht arrived above the Dragon Palace. Xiaoyu, Elder Fang. Don't be too surprised in a while. Let's go. Wang Xian carried Xiaoyu and supported Elder Fang as he remarked. To the astonishment of the two girls, Wang Xian carried and pulled them along as they dived into the sea. When the majestic and awe-inspiring Dragon Palace appeared before them, the two girls were dumbfounded. Despite having heard about the Dragon Palace from Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing, Xiaoyu was still deeply astonished when she saw the incomparably huge Dragon Palace under the water's surface. The beautiful Dragon Palace made her feel innate respect and fear for it. It was especially so when they arrived at the Dragon Palace. Their eyes widened as they stared at the various huge structures around them. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, several creatures swam towards Wang Xian. The first to arrive were the 9 venomous sea snakes. They remained stationary before Wang Xian in a respectful manner. Greetings, Dragon King. Greetings, Dragon King. At this instant, more and more creatures appeared, with each being more unique in physique than the last. They swam before Wang Xian, went down on one knee and greeted him. Are these the crawfish soldiers and crab generals of the Dragon Palace? Xiaoyu's eyes widened in disbelief as she stared at the Dragon Palace members before her. Even Wang Xian was shocked as he looked at the crowd before him. The ones at the very front were the Anomalocaris and the Golden Swordfish race. At this point, the two races had undergone the baptism of the Dragon Transformation Pool. After the baptism, their form had undergone tremendous changes. The Anomalocaris was standing upright. Around them, bluish sparks glowed. Two incomparably huge front limbs looked forceful and seemed to be hiding horrifying electric energy. The stature of approximately 2.5 meters looked extremely intimidating. Chapter 395, Mutated Divine Dragon, 2. Chapter 395, Mutated Divine Dragon, 2. The sections of Anomalocaris bodies were filled with massive powers as the shells had turned totally blue, looking more like dragon scales. In addition to the two huge forelimbs, the small claws had undergone massive changes which had turned into something similar to that of a dragon claw. However, it was still much smaller as compared to its powerful forelimbs. They had bluish shells with eyes that were blinking with thunderbolts radiance in it. The entire Anomalocaris race looked hallowed as they were completely changed from their heads to tails. 5 level 11 and 1 level 12. The rest are level 10. Wang Xian looked at the Anomalocaris race with a surprised look. After the baptism of Dragon Transformation Pool, they had upgraded by a level. However, Wang Xian was most astonished by the changes in the Golden Swordfish race. Looking at the complete human form of the Golden Swordfish race, Wang Xian was dumbfounded. Complete human form. With a body size of 2 meters, they had arms and legs just like any other burly men. The spikes on their heads had disappeared entirely. They were replaced by sharp and long swords in their hands. The swords were about 1.5 meters long with dragon head-looking hilts. The entire swords were shaped like divine dragons. The swords were connected with their arms while their entire bodies were encompassed in unusual armor. Behind their backs, their fins had evolved into pairs of wings. Perhaps they were still weak, which was why their wings were small. Wang Xian locked his gaze on the Golden Swordfish race who had experienced massive changes, as he was totally caught by surprise. How did they turn into something humanoid after the baptism? Your bodies? Wang Xian looked at the leader of the Golden Swordfish race and asked with doubts. Currently, that leader had hit level 12 with a body size of 2.5 meters. He was looking almighty with that golden armor. Dragon King, the Swordfish race had monotonous attacks because we could only strike with the spikes on our foreheads. Back in the Dragon Transformation Pool when we were forming our shapes, we thought of the humans that we once met. They were holding weapons in their hands, making a variety of attack moves. It was superb. So we thought of transforming into something human-like. But we can restore our previous forms too. As the leader of the Swordfish race explained, he jerked his body and transformed back to a golden swordfish once again. Oh well. Wang Xian exhibited a trace of a smile when he witnessed the transformation of the golden swordfish. Given their forms in the past, their assaulting patterns were really monotonous. There was nothing but penetration. With the new humanoid golden swordfish, they could enter human society without having to be discovered. Old Mo, you'll teach them how to read and speak. After some thought, Wang Xian turned his attention to the sharp swords in their hands again. Hand them the art of ancient spiritual sword technique. Perhaps the golden swordfish race can become mighty swordsmen. Wang Xian smiled as he spoke. How would it look like if swordfish practiced swordsmanship? It's truly amazing. Elder Fong was in total surprise when she watched Wang Xian communicating with a group of terrifying beings. Her eyes flickered as she stared at him. Let's go. Xiao Yu and Elder Fong, I need to put you in the dragon transformation pool to remove the venom in your body. After you enter into the dragon transformation pool, your bloodline will evolve to divine dragon bloodline, which means you can transform into a dragon in the future. Wang Xian reminded Xiao Yu and Elder Fong. But his primary purpose was to let Elder Fong know about it. A dragon? Elder Fong was shocked, but she nodded with some expectations. Haha, I can become a metal divine dragon. But a water dragon is fine too since it's pretty. Well, azure dragons look good too. Xiao Yu chuckled with a face full of excitement. Wang Xian smiled as he led Xiao Yu and Elder Fong through the Dragon King Hall. Under their bewildered gazes, they reached the dragon transformation pool. Within the pool, Prime Minister Turtle and the rest were still in a slow process of reviving. No one knew how long they would take. Xiao Yu, Elder Fong, you'll need at most 2 days to recover in the dragon transformation pool. In the meantime, call me if you need anything, said Wang Xian to the duo as they nodded their heads with force. After placing them into the dragon transformation pool, Wang Xian sat by the side and observed them. When the duo entered into the pool, their vitality increased rapidly. Xiao Xian, don't worry. Elder Fong and Xiao Yu will be alright. Guan Shuqing consoled Wang Xian. Okay, let's go. I'll get a venomous sea snake to keep an eye over here. Let's get some rest. Wang Xian nodded and returned to the Dragon King Hall. Back in the palace, Missouri Qinglong was teaching the Golden Swordfish race how to read and speak. At the same time he was coaching them on their sword moves. After the baptism of the dragon transformation pool, the Golden Swordfish race was so intelligent that they could memorize everything they had learned. In particular, their swordplay. When they trained themselves within the dragon field, their efficiency of cultivation could hit twice the speed, which was very powerful. The Annihilating race was instead cultivating in the dragon cave. After taking a look, Wang Xian exhibited a satisfying look on his face. After Prime Minister Turtle and the rest were revived, Wang Xian could lead them to conquer the entire Eastern Sea. Grew. Just when Wang Xian and the others were resting in the Dragon Palace, the Dragon Transformation Pool was undergoing a massive change. Within the pool, bloody water was bubbling around Xiao Yu and Elder Fong. The dragon blood within the Dragon Transformation Pool gradually turned black after entering their bodies. The vague black spots that were stuck on their bones did not disappear from their bodies. Instead, they were growing at an exponential rate. The black spots slowly spread throughout their bones, where all the white bony areas were turned black. As the black spots spread themselves, their bodies were slowly getting inky. Kaka. The dragon transformation pool allowed anyone to evolve into a divine dragon. But a dragon transformation pool at level 1 could not support the instant transformation. Like the golden swordfish and Annihilating races, their bloodline, physique, talent and intelligence would be significantly enhanced after the baptism of the dragon transformation pool. They could even change their forms. Similarly, Xiao Yu and Elder Fong could not turn into divine dragons directly after entering the dragon transformation pool. It would take a long period of cultivation to achieve that. However, the dragon blood did not cleanse the black spots within their bodies due to their powerful energy. Instead, they combined to form something even more horrifying. Their bones were making cracking sounds. Buzz. At this time, the black devil dragon on the 9 columns around the pool was giving off a slight glow. Xiao Yu and Elder Fan in the pool were undergoing a huge change. They were evolving into something closer to the devil dragon but yet different. To put it more accurately, it was something even more terrifying and hideous than the devil dragon. Their flesh and blood seemed to be perfectly hidden within the bones as the terrifying black-colored bones began to be revealed. Mutated divine dragons. Skeletal dragons. Chapter 396 Skeletal Dragon. Chapter 396 Skeletal Dragon. Growling Gur. A soft roar erupted from the dragon transformation pool of the Dragon Palace. The roar was sonorous and soft but easily propagated throughout the entire Dragon Palace. Arg! How did I become like this? At this moment, a shrieking scream sounded. Within the dragon transformation pool, Xiao Yu and Elder Fong stared at each before screaming. Their bright eyes were filled with disbelief. After looking at each other, they looked at their own bodies. Xiao Yu's tears streamed down immediately. Bones. She was covered in bones that appeared dullish black and glowed in a faint and dull light. Her body looked segmental and each segment was connected to razor-sharp thorny bones. Her body was approximately 5 meters long and looked just like a terrifying mystical dragon forged with dullish gold metal. They were a little different from ordinary divine dragons and had 2 wings that spanned approximately 1 meter to both sides of their body. Although one could say these 1-meter-long frames were wings, they were more ornamental than functional. Their dragon claws were entirely black and shimmered in a chilling black glow. The black skeletal dragon didn't appear to be evil at all. Instead, it carried with it a tinge of holiness. Moreover, it looked incomparably domineering and majestic. However, this was the conclusion one would get if one used the perspective of a guy. In the eyes of Xiao Yu and Elder Fong, they were just exceptionally grotesque monsters. Xiao Yu, Elder Fong. At this instant, Wang Xian, who had been in his room previously, came rushing towards the dragon transformation pool after hearing the screams of Xiao Yu and Elder Fong. This? When he stood by the edge of the dragon transformation pool, Wang Xian was dumbfounded to see Xiao Yu and Elder Fong's current form in the dragon transformation pool. Whoa, big brother, I have turned into a monster. I have turned into a monster. Xiao Yu cried out in fear. She moved and flew towards Wang Xian at astonishing speed. Crack, crack, crack. While flying, the sound of metal clashing was made. She looked domineering and majestic and was just like the void skeletal dragon that existed in the records of mythology. Wang Xian raised his arms and wrapped them around Xiao Yu's huge head. On his face he wore a bitter smile. Mutated divine dragon. Oh gosh. It's a mutated divine dragon. Xiao Xian, what's a mutated divine dragon? At this moment, Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue and Sun Lingxiu, who had followed closely behind Wang Xian, looked at Xiao Yu in shock as they asked. Brother, I'm so ugly now. Sob sob. Brother. Xiao Yu's feminine voice came from the skeletal dragon. No matter how one looked at it, he would find this to be really weird. Xiao Yu, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You can still regain your human form. Wang Xian comforted Xiao Yu as Elder Fong also flew towards him. Wang Xian looked at them, forced a smile and said, This? For you all, this should be a blessing. Wang. Miracle Dr. Wang. How could this be a blessing? Elder Fong's voice was trembling as she shook her head and stared at Wang Xian. From the perspective of a divine dragon, this is indeed a blessing. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head before continuing, I don't understand why you two have become skeletal dragons, but this is undoubtedly a blessing. A skeletal dragon is a mutated divine dragon with devil attributes. It could also be called a mutated form of a devil dragon. Divine dragons can be separated into 9 different attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, light, darkness, wind and thunder. However, there are still mutated attributes besides these 9 attributes, among which there are skeletal dragons and frosty divine dragons. Based on the records of the divine dragon transformation, mutated divine dragons are much stronger than ordinary divine dragons. In every 10,000 divine dragons, there might just be one. To become a mutated divine dragon is extremely difficult. The reason why both of you have become skeletal dragons is likely to be due to those black dots of venom. My guess is that the black bone venom isn't a kind of poison. Instead, it's an incredible treasure. It is just that when injected into ordinary humans can't withstand this form of energy and thus show symptoms of being poisoned. Wang Xian made his conjecture. Mutated divine dragons were rare occurrences within the divine dragon race. It was also extremely difficult to become one. Now that Xiao Yu and Elder Fong had become skeletal dragons, it could be a huge blessing for them. Sob sob. Brother, I don't want to become an ugly skeletal dragon like this. I don't want to. I want to become other dragons. Xiao Yu shook her head unwillingly. Seeing that huge skeletal head acting like a spoiled child was truly... Wang Xian could only smile bitterly. Xiao Yu had been full of anticipation and hope when she entered the dragon transformation pool. She was still imagining herself becoming a beautiful water divine dragon or the majestic metal divine dragon or an azure dragon that could control wood. As for a devil dragon, she had never thought about it. And yet, she had now turned into the mutated skeletal dragon, something she considered to be worse than the devil dragon. Change back into your human form. Change back to your human form. Wang Xian smiled and comforted her. Xiao Yu's eyes were red from crying. Based on the transformation technique, she turned back into her human form with just a thought. Wang Xian waved his arm and shielded her body. Elder Fong, who was by the side, also returned into her human form. Wang Xian couldn't help but steal a few glances. Her figure completely triumphed over Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue. "Ah, what are you looking at?" The voices of Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue erupted from his side. Wang Xian immediately turned his head around. Waving his arm, he shielded Elder Fang's body. Elder Fang's face was flushed. In her mind, the cultivation arts of the skeletal dragon surfaced. Ka. Sounds of metal clashing and rubbing came from her. Soon, Elder Fang was covered in black armor. The battle armor had a black glow and completely covered her alluring figure. Her long hair rested behind her, making her look incomparably cold. However, perhaps it was because Elder Fang's figure was too exceptional. There was a different kind of charm emanating from her. Xiaoyu saw the bone armor appearing on Elder Fang. With a thought, similar bone armor covered her body too. This bone armor was indeed part of the skeletal structure within their bodies. Moreover, it possessed incredible defensive strength. "Isn't this pretty good? Look at how stunning you are now." Wang Xian smiled and commented as he looked at Xiaoyu. Covered in bone armor, they looked just like powerful female warriors. Xiaoyu looked at her own body and pouted. She was still feeling unsatisfied about it. Although the bone armor in the human form was cool, turning into the dragon form was too grotesque. It's better to just maintain the human form. Elder Fang showed a bitter smile. Feeling the incredible strength within her, she felt slightly relieved. Elder Fang felt that these boundless powers were even greater than the inborn realm. It should have been equivalent to the legendary half-step to Dan realm. Acclimatize yourself with your own powers and show them to us. Wang Xian looked at Xiaoyu and continued, "Both of you have made huge leaps forward in the dragon transformation pool. It isn't about strength but rather your bloodline. The current dragon palace is just at the first level. Rationally speaking, it is only capable of breeding dragon species but not giving rise to divine dragons. Now that you all have become divine dragons, you could really call that a meteoric rise." Wang Xian remarked joyously. He wondered what kind of venom was required to enable Xiaoyu and Elder Fang to transform into dragons directly. He was thinking of visiting the Sacred Followers Guild when he had the time to see if they still had more of such venom. Chapter 397, Get Out of Our Territory, 1. Chapter 397, Get Out of Our Territory, 1. When you were in your human form, your strength was half-step to Dan realm. After you turned into a skeletal dragon, your strength is close to level 11, and the divine dragon level is at 7. "The difference is not that huge," said Wang Xian after watching the strength exhibited by Xiaoyu and Elder Fang within the dragon palace. Both of them were different from him. They had transformed into divine dragons through the dragon transformation pool. Hence, their strength was not much different regardless of whether they were in dragon or human forms. However, Wang Xian was transformed into a divine dragon through the system. Hence, there were some differences. Both of them had upgraded their strength to half-step to Dan realm from half-step to inborn. That was a great leap in the levels. Very soon they could advance to Dan realm, and become the legendary existences of the underworld. Too powerful. I'm simply too powerful now. Ah. Xiaoyu had excitement all over her face while Elder Fang was overwhelmed too. She did not expect she could reach such a daunting stage with her strength. As she looked at Wang Xian, there was an unusual radiance that flashed across her eyes. If it were not for this young man, she would not have thought of entering the inborn realm, not to mention the legendary Dan realm. "Xiaoyu, you are much more powerful than me now. All of you are better than me." Guan Shuqing walked to Xiaoyu and spoke with envy. "Hee, sister-in-law, why don't you go into the dragon transformation pool and evolve into a divine dragon? In that way you can also become very powerful." Xiaoyu tugged at Guan Shuqing's arm and spoke while smiling. "No." Wang Xian shook his head. "Shuqing has the most prestigious bloodline, and it's unsafe for her to enter into the pool. Shuqing, I think you'll be reaching the inborn realm soon, right?" "Yes, soon. I still need at least half a month." Guan Shuqing smiled. "Let's have a celebration for Xiaoyu and Elder Fang's recovery." Lan Qingyue smiled as she spoke when the gang came to the Dragon King's bedroom. "It's better to go back to the yacht." Wang Xian smiled and said after seeing the sizable messy bed. "I'll get some men to hunt for some food." The 6 of them came to the yacht above the Dragon Palace as they were happily cooking. Living on the sea was very relaxing. Having delicate seafood with a glass of red wine in each of their hands, they gazed upon the beautiful sea, looking extremely loosened up. It's winter vacation. Let's have some fun on the sea for a few days. Wang Xian was lying on the sofa as he suggested this to Xiaoyu, Guan Shuqing, and the rest. Sure. All of them nodded their heads, smiling from ear to ear. Standing on the deck of the yacht, they were gazing at the vast ocean while enjoying the sea breeze. Oh, Qingyue, do you know if there are other places like gambling cruises around the sea? Asked Wang Xian to Lan Qingyue with curiosity. According to Mo Yuan's investigation, there were many recreational zones on the vast ocean. To humans, the vast underwater world was a mystery. But on the surface of the sea, it was another paradise to the martial artists. Martial artists were unable to display their remarkable strength in the bustling urban society unless they were out in the sea. There were many islands out in the sea for leisure and tourism. Most of the places only received the riches and the martial artists. Things that could be found in the sea were nothing average. Many of the martial artists, clans and families had placed their focus on seeking marine resources, especially when the mainland had been lacking in resources for the last decades. My dad told me before that there is a region with cruises. There are food, entertainment and all kinds of leisure activities over there. Let me call my dad and ask him. Lan Qingyue replied with a smile. Wang Xian nodded. Even though the Dragon Palace was stationed underwater, he was still unfamiliar with the ocean. My dad sent me a coordinate. Let's go over. Soon Lan Qingyue received a reply and told this to Wang Xian. Great, let's go. Wang Xian chuckled. Wang Xian got Mo Qinglong to steer the yacht while the rest were beaming as they headed to one of the recreational spots in the sea. The recreational spots were closer to land compared to the Dragon Palace. Hence they had to make their way back. Xiao Xian, look. There are 2 vessels ahead. It's about the same as those that we saw the other time. As the yacht was sailing along the sea, 2 vessels that seemed rather familiar appeared before their eyes. Wang Xian slightly squinted his eyes as he looked over. The bodies of the vessels were dark in color, looking durable. There was a banner with a sharp sword flying in the air on the sail. On the ship stood a mixture of middle-aged men and young men with swords in their hands. The 2 vessels were similar to those of 3 cruises they had encountered not long ago. The only difference was the size of these 2 vessels. They were much smaller with a size of 30 meters each. Something white was found on the water surface between the 2 vessels that looked unusually striking. Wang Xian and the gang had a clear view this time as it was daytime. This is the second time we've run into them. What are they doing? Lan Qingyue was a little surprised to see the 2 vessels. They had also been anchored in the middle of the sea the other time. Now they were doing the same thing. Let's check it out. Wang Xian told Mo Qinglong and the gang. He remembered that an old man on that vessel attacked them with some mighty explosives in the last encounter. They were attacking them to chase them out of that region. Back then, Wang Xian had been anxious about the construction of the Dragon Palace. Hence he did not bother. This time he wanted to have a good look. What's going on? We haven't seen any ice fish in the past few days. Where have they all gone? This shouldn't be happening. At this time, a middle-aged man was staring at the center spot with an awful look on the sacred seas of swords vessels not far away. Attendant Yun, something has not been quite right these past few days. Not only are the ice fish gone but also the Chilean fish. We haven't seen any of them within these 2 days. The duo was flustered as they spoke. A young man was holding onto a sword by the side. He was 9 meters tall with a striking appearance. He exhibited a prideful demeanor from within. However, he was frowning slightly at this point in time. The ocean was a substantial treasure-hunting ground. One of the biggest reasons that many sects established their bases in the sea was because of its resources. They could hunt mighty fish species in the sea through some special techniques. These fish contained a high amount of energy. Feeding on them was not any different from eating the spiritual grass. It was more so that the high amount of energy from the marine animals could allow martial artists to enhance the strength of their bodies. The dominant marine animals in the sea were valuable resources for the clans. These animals were known as spiritual fish. However, Sacred Sea of Swords had been able to catch not a single spiritual fish in the past 2 days. Attendant Yun, Senior Brother Ma, there's a yacht heading in our direction. Just then, a disciple walked over and pointed to the back as he reported to the middle-aged man and that young man. Get them out of our territory, the duo said with much impatience. Chapter 398, Get Out of Our Territory, 2. Chapter 398, Get Out of Our Territory 2. Get out of our territory. An order resounded on the surface of the sea. On a black ship, a young man carried a sharp blade in his hand and stared harshly at the approaching yacht. The same words as that night? Their territory? When Wang Xian heard him, he squinted his eyes. The seas are just part of the territory of the dragon race. It doesn't matter if it's below or above the surface. Wang Xian's eyes shimmered. Dreadful marine creatures were currently occupying the area below the surface of the sea. On the surface, strong and powerful ancient sects had occupied the area. The entire sea had been divided and controlled. Wang Xian smirked. It appeared that he wouldn't be just competing against creatures below the surface of the sea, but also had to compete with ancient sects above the surface. He wouldn't wish for someone pissing him off above his head. The yacht continued cruising forward. He had sufficient time to toy with them. This time Wang Xian wouldn't just make a detour. When that young man saw the yacht not accelerating or turning around, he raised an eyebrow as his expression turned chilling. Seems like someone is courting death. At this point, a middle-aged man and the young man walked forward. Their gazes were fixed coldly on the approaching yacht. They had already been restless previously. Now that they were seeing a yacht approaching them, their mood got worse. The yacht club had alarmed some spiritual fish below the surface of the sea. Over the last 2 days they hadn't encountered a single one. Now that this yacht was disturbing the area, it would be harder for them to encounter one. The middle-aged man and young man gradually drew their swords as they watched the yacht approaching. Beside them, disciples from the sacred seas of swords on the 2 ships were looking in the direction of the yacht, smirking with contempt. How dare you encroach into the territory of our sacred seas of swords? You guys must be courting death. When the yacht was 2,000 meters away from them, the young man shouted harshly. His voice reached Wang Xian and the group's ears clearly. Continue ahead as plotted. Wang Xian instructed Mo Qinglong. Yes, young master. The yacht remained on its original path. It appears that there are people who aren't showing any regard for our sacred seas of swords. Kill them. Sink into the sea those who dare to encroach on the territory of the sacred seas of swords, the middle-aged man and the young man instructed emotionlessly. In the sea, each ancient sect occupied a region. People from other forces could enter the region but were forbidden from capturing spiritual fish in the region and also forbidden from lingering for an extended period. These were the rules of the sea and were established through strength. Those who were stronger would occupy a bigger area. In other words, they would obtain greater resources. Facing the yacht, the sacred seas of swords wouldn't back off at all. This was their territory. In their territory, others should follow their orders. These were the rules of the jungle, the rules of the survival of the fittest. Whoosh! The young man saw the yacht passing by 50 meters away from them. He swung his sword lightly towards the sea. In the direction where he pointed, the seawater coalesced rapidly into sharp blades. In an instant, 10 long swords made of seawater appeared before the young man. The middle-aged man beside him did the same. As he waved his arm, seawater formed countless long swords and were sent piercing forward. Insolent brats, the young man snorted. The water swords flew towards the yacht at an astonishing speed. Who gives you the guts to be so brazen in the territory of our sacred seas of swords? Are you really that eager to go to hell? On the 2 ships, the disciples of sacred seas of swords saw senior brother Ma and attendant Yun strike as they looked towards the yacht with disdain. Their actions were incomparably domineering. Above the sea, the rule of survival of the fittest was greatly manifested. Interesting. Seeing them strike, Wang Xian showed a faint smile. Let's go and ask them about the sea. Wang Xian smiled. A huge wall of seawater was raised before the yacht as he waved his arm. It acted as a water shield and took the attacking water swords directly. Subsequently, Wang Xian leaped into the air and flew towards the 2 ships. Xiao Yu and Elder Fong were eager to give it a try. They jumped into the air and flew closely behind Wang Xian. Guan Shuqing could only pout. Having not reached the inborn realm, she was still unable to fly in the air for short periods. What? Flying in the air? They are inborn experts. This is bad. We have encountered experts. It's no surprise that they ignored our warning. On the 2 ships of the sacred seas of swords, the disciples were shocked and stunned to see Wang Xian raising a water wall with a single wave of his arm, and that he was flying towards them. That's a young man. He's so young and yet he has already reached the inborn realm. There are still 4 beautiful ladies behind him. Oh gosh. All of them are flying in the air. 5 inborn experts. These inborn experts are so young. Which powerful sect are they from? How can they be so young? When the disciples of the sacred seas of swords saw Xiao Yu and Elder Feng approaching them, their eyes widened and were filled with disbelief. Senior Brother Ma and Attendant Yun could feel their eyelids twitching violently as they stared solemnly at Wang Xian and the group. We are the disciples of sacred seas of swords. May I know what intentions you guys have? The middle-aged man and young man saw Wang Xian landing on their ship. Seeing the overly young looks of the group, they were in awe. Wang Xian looked at the crowd of disciples of sacred seas of swords with contempt and superiority. Explain to me the distribution of powers of the sea. Wang Xian's eyes landed on the middle-aged man and young man and instructed them directly. You. When the young man saw how Wang Xian was looking down at them, and that he didn't seem to have any regard for them, his expression sank. Speak. Wang Xian stared harshly at that young man. Disciples of a sacred sect? Your territory? Everything has to be backed with the corresponding strength. If you guys are the disciples of a sacred sect, I alone am the entire sacred sect. Wang Xian had 0 favorable opinions of the disciples of sacred seas of swords who dared to attack him. If you dare to look down on me, I'll stand before you with absolute authority. We are the disciples of the sacred seas of swords. This is the territory of our sacred seas of swords. That young man gritted his teeth, clenched his fist and spoke solemnly. He emphasized the sacred seas of swords once again. Clearly he was trying to warn Wang Xian with the name of the sacred seas of swords. Your territory? How hilarious. Do you know the consequences of attacking me? Wang Xian smirked, looked at the brazen and arrogant young man before him and moved his arm. Boom. The seawater around them turned into a huge water snake and dived towards the young man. Don't you dare. You will be making the entire sacred seas of swords your enemy. The middle-aged man standing by the side chided loudly when he witnessed Wang Xian attack. Hee. Wang Xian responded with a cold and mocking smile. That water snake moved at astonishing speed towards the young man. The young man's expression changed radically. The long sword in his hand glowed in dense blue light as he swung towards the water snake. Brother, I realize those disciples from the so-called sacred sects or first-class forces were very haughty. They just killed anyone readily and were tyrannical. Xiao Yu did not feel anything for those people who were drowned in the sea by Wang Xian. Even though she'd just gotten in touch with the underworld not long ago, she had a strong understanding of what it was like being in the underworld. The disciples of the sacred sects and ancestral clans considered themselves superior as they looked down on those from the weaker sections. Some of the experts even struck at those weaker ones when things did not go their way. Speak with your fist. The rules of the jungle were reflected realistically in the underworld. Wang Xian smiled as he nodded. This is the essence. The elephants don't care for an ant if it's dead. They will not remember it. Nobody will care about the mosquitoes when they are smacked to death either. Those disciples with a strong background or who came from some families were all prideful and full of self-confidence. They loved to look down on those who were weaker than them. Dragons were too proud to stay in one place with snakes. That was the logic. Hence, those sacred sects were never in the good books of Wang Xian. So it was with the Sacred Followers Guild. One of their elders was killed, and they just sent their men to kill him without asking for any reason. The Sacred Sea of Swords was the same. When Wang Xian and the gang were passing through this place from afar, they came under fire from the Sacred Sea of Swords. It was the same this time. They struck after a warning. Wang Xian never had a good impression of sacred sects. Hence, he would leave no mercy for those who provoked him. Since you want to talk with your fists, then let's do it. The outcome will be determined by strength. From now on, I'll not strike if no one provokes me. But I'll kill anyone who offends me. Wang Xian thought to himself as he looked at the map in his hand. The power distribution map of the sea region included those zones around Asia. There are more than a dozen forces throughout the Eastern Sea. The territory occupied by Sacred Sea of Swords is the largest while there are some foreign forces as well. The map was very detailed on the territory distribution around the nearby region. Apart from the Eastern Sea, the rest of the areas were covered by many different kinds of forces. There were at least 30 forces in the entire Asia region. among which some of them could be comparable to the sacred Sea of Swords. Apart from that, there were some disordered regions in the sea. The disordered regions were places no forces were occupying except some smaller forces, including wandering sea groups. Wandering sea groups were similar to pirates who dealt with all kinds of business. Some of the wandering sea groups even dared to enter the territories of other forces. Looks like it's very messy in the ocean as well. Everyone talks with their fists. With various forces and wandering sea groups rooted in the sea, it seemed to be extremely chaotic. Wang Xian briefly exclaimed to himself as he stared at that recreational area, which belonged to the first-class force Qingbai sect. There was an island surrounded by many cruises, making it an attractive tourist spot. Many affluent people and martial artists would go there for some recreational activities. The yacht was steering toward that region rapidly. After 3 hours, the cruises appeared before them one by one. Beside those cruises was a small island that spanned a radius of 2 to 3 kilometers. Various yachts were docked by the side of the island. Even in the middle of the ocean, this place remained a cool tourist attraction. Chapter 400 Overseas Wandering Sea Groups 1. Chapter 400 Overseas Wandering Sea Groups 1. Oh gosh, it's so beautiful here. After parking the yacht beside the island and paying exorbitant fees, Xiaoyu, Guan Shuqing and the girls alighted from the yacht and looked around the island with anticipation. The entire island was divided into separate regions. Within it, clean and clear seawater was flowing and the entire island had been modified to include a swimming pool. Moreover, there were restaurants, cafes and bars surrounding the pool. With a huge shade cast on the island, the entire area was exceptionally stunning and the place was ideal for swimming and relaxing. The island is a place for relaxing. If you are interested in other entertainment, you can board the various cruises around. There are a total of 5 cruises providing various services. The employee at the yacht docking area explained to Wang Xian with a radiant smile. All right, thank you. Wang Xian nodded his head. He looked around him and revealed a smile. It's so beautiful. The water on this island is a hot spring from the sea. This is simply amazing. Xiao Xian, look. There are cruises for accommodation, food, water treatment, and even gambling. Guan Shuqing looked around her and was ecstatic. Other than that, there was a beautiful beach where they could even go fishing. There was also a cruise used specifically to receive martial artists. The entire premise could be said to be the holy land of tourism and wasn't a place that could be matched by other tourist spots in the world. Similarly, the cost here wasn't affordable by ordinary consumers. Go. Let's go to the food cruise first before returning for the hot spring, drinking some coffee and lying down for some rest. Ah, this is too great. Xiaoyu held onto Wang Xian's arms as she remarked joyously. All right. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head. The group of 6 headed towards one of the cruises. On the food cruise, there were various delicacies from all over the world. One could even find spiritual fish for sale on the top deck. Xiaoyu and the girls had a sumptuous meal of delicacies. After eating, the group of them went for the hot spring. They rented a hot spring pool where they could order all kinds of coffee and beverages from the side while immersing themselves and resting in the hot spring. The day passed quickly as the group rested and relaxed. At night, there was a bonfire party by the beach. There were unique delicacies and beautiful ladies from all over the world, making the entire beach a place of sin. However, the order of the entire region was still great. No one was kicking up a fuss and no one dared to do so. For this place to become such a lively and popular tourist spot, safety and order had to be 100% guaranteed. At night, at the top level of the accommodation cruise, Wang Xian, Xiaoyu, Guan Shuqing and the other girls were sitting by the balcony. They were playing bridge while enjoying the beautiful scenery before them. The island, from a long distance away, was well lit and looked exceptionally beautiful. Touring here had lifted the spirits of everyone. Let's enjoy ourselves for a week here. We can return after the week since we aren't in a hurry too. Wang Xian looked at Xiaoyu and the girls as he commented with a smile. My master is still asking me to return as soon as possible. Guan Shuqing stuck out her tongue playfully as she commented. It's all right. I'll inform him. I'll raise your strength to the inborn realm over these few days. In this case, Sui Huang won't nag at you, Wang Xian chuckled. He realized something. When the two of them had intercourse, he could increase Guan Shuqing's strength level. It might be because of the relationship between the dragon and the phoenix. Wandering sea groups. Get out of the territory of our Qingbai sect. At this moment, a chilling roar erupted from the sea and propagated throughout the region. Hee. We have come to the Qing by sect's territory. Pay us 100 spiritual stones now and we will leave immediately. Otherwise, don't blame us for going on a killing spree. A brazen voice propagated through the night sky. Scram, you guys are just a group of locusts. Otherwise, all of you shall die. Haha. You want all of us in the Century Ghost group to die. Your Qing by sect doesn't have such capabilities yet. Now we shall grant you a minute to think about it. Give us the spiritual stones or we will start a slaughter here. The brazen voice erupted once again and resounded in the sky. Wang Xian stood up in shock and looked ahead. At this moment, all the rooms on the cruise lit up after hearing the brazen voice. Many people walked out of their rooms feeling puzzled. Amid the dark seas, a ship that was roughly 70 meters long stopped before the island. The ship had a green glow and was entirely green. It was extremely creepy and similar to ships used a long time ago. It was made of wood but it looked incomparably tough. On that ship, the crew members were all carrying samurai swords. They wore green ghost masks and looked exceptionally savage. A strange ship. Wang Xian was a little surprised by that green wooden ship and recalled the ship of the Sacred Seas of Swords. The ship of the Sacred Seas of Swords was made from a special metal. When he stood on the ship he could feel that the ship was extremely tough. However, Wang Xian wasn't paying too much attention to it when he sank it. Could there be mysterious pirate ships like those in the movies? Wang Xian smiled. Subsequently he looked down at the ship. Those are the Wandering Sea Groups. Moreover, they are Wandering Sea Groups from Japan. Scumbags. Century Ghost Group is a rather strong and infamous wandering group. They possess incredible strength. Once, they annihilated 2 weak first-class forces in the vicinity and plundered all the treasures. They must have their eyes set on Qing by sect now. Rumor has it that the ship of the Century Ghost Group can dive 10 meters under the surface and cruise rapidly. How insane is that? The Century Ghost Group is formed by some martial artists from Japan. These scumbags are just like locusts in this piece of sea region. They go around plundering and surprisingly have infiltrated this place today. At this moment, voices of martial artists started coming from various directions. Many people had gathered on the deck and were looking down. Clearly, many martial artists knew the Century Ghost Group well and hated them. Wandering Sea Group? Century Ghost Group. Wang Xian heard them and raised an eyebrow. He had not expected to encounter the Century Ghost Group after receiving information about the Wandering Sea Groups earlier in the day. There were many Wandering Sea Groups on the sea from all parts of the world. In this piece of sea region, the strongest Wandering Sea Groups included Century Ghost Group, Haijiao, Naka, Night Phantom, and Creepy Snake. These few Wandering Sea Group were infamous and had annihilated first-class forces previously. Haijiao and Naka were formed by criminals in the underworld and Century Ghost Group was from Japan, while Naka and Creepy Snake had been established by martial artists from India and Sarawak. Chapter 401, Overseas Wandering Sea Groups 2. Chapter 401, Overseas Wandering Sea Groups 2. Wandering Sea Groups own no territory. They relied on robberies to reap benefits. Many forces hated them, especially those large transportation companies. If they did not pay any fees, the Wandering Sea Groups would hijack the transport teams. They were much more terrifying than those average pirates. TSK 1 minute is up soon. Looks like you don't know what's good for you. All of you will regret it. Ah. The haughty laughter was heard, resounding throughout the entire sea region. Century Ghost members, don't blame the Qing Bai sect for fighting all out with you if you guys don't scram now. The angry bellow came with a force that was filled with immense righteousness. Just the Qing Bai sect? Even the Chinese sacred sects cannot handle us. Haha, if not for the Chinese guardian divine beasts, that so-called underworld of yours would already be long gone. A disdainful voice was heard again. Time's up. Since you are ignorant then. Hayak shui gue. Do it now. Boom boom. When the voice trailed off, there was a sudden loud and violent sound. Under the cruise the sea began to turn choppy. Immense energy was coming from the bottom of the cruise. You're seeking your doom. The eyes of people from Qing Bai sect turned red when they heard the roar coming from the bottom of the cruise. In a fit of rage they rushed to the Century Ghost Group before them. TSK. You guys are burning with a frenzy of rage, aren't you? Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll annihilate all of you. As the sneering voice was heard, the martial artists from the Century Ghost group, each with a ghost mask, flitted towards Qing Bisect's vessel. Both parties engaged in a battle. In the dark, hundreds of ghosts moved like phantoms, and no one could see them clearly. Ah, the cruise is sinking. Everyone back to the island. Now. Don't panic. Head to the island at once. At this moment, 5 cruises jerked violently at the seaside as the water gushed into the cabins. Although they were at a shallow spot, the sea level could still submerge half of the cruise. Members from Qing Bisect stood before the cruise and commanded the passengers at the top of their lungs. They are blowing the ship from below. Sensing the ship was rapidly sinking, Guan Shuqing let out a surprised exclamation. Let's get off here, said Wang Xian to Xiao Yu and Guan Shuqing as he leaped in the direction of the island. Some of the surrounding martial artists were also jumping off from the cruise. Oh no, Qing Bisect is not a match for Century Ghost. Qing Bisect has only 2 inborn experts keeping guard here. I heard there were 5 inborn experts within the Century Ghost group. That Shui Gui is one of them. When Wang Xian had just landed on the island, he managed to overhear 2 middle-aged men exclaiming as they looked out to the sea. Everyone turned and looked over. All the hundreds of Century Ghost members who were wearing ghost masks over their faces had made it to the cruise of Qing Bisect. Among which, 3 people in masks that had flashing green radiance were engaged in fierce battles with 2 inborn experts from Qing Bisect. The rest of the Century Ghost members were waging war with the remaining disciples of Qing Bisect. Fearsome and experienced Century Ghost members could slaughter Qing Bisect disciples of the same level easily. As such, there were devastating screams everywhere. Old Tong. At this time, one of the 2 inborn experts from Qing Bisect, who was battling in the air, let out a sudden sharp shriek. TSK trying to stop the Century Ghost with just 2 inborn experts? I ask you not to resist and yet you're digging your own grave. A person with a ghost mask suddenly emerged from the water. He was holding on the sharp claw that caught both legs of that inborn expert while he lifted his head and revealed a hideous smile. Bam! That inborn expert landed into the sea with intense ripples before the water surface finally calmed down. Old Tong. Damn you guys. I'll kill you all. Another inborn expert bellowed in a fit of rage as he exuded a sapphire glow from his body. Desperate struggle. 3 experts of Century Ghost sneered as their masks continued to give off a greenish radiance that was incredibly creepy at night. Haha, some of you will head to the central cruise and take all the treasures away. The remaining ones start fishing. Tufo Io Akijita, let's go fishing. Hayak. One by one, those wearing ghost masks charged out from the vessel of the Qing Bisect. They were covered in blood as they screamed with a hideous look. Some of the Century Ghost members headed for the cruise in the center. That cruise was dedicated to receiving martial artists, and they provided auction and trading services. Hence, there were many treasures in it. Another dozen people flitted towards the island as they stared coldly at all the people on it as though they were prey. We're doomed. Qing Bisect was unable to stop the attack of Century Ghost. Oh no, they are fishing. Let's run. Run now. We'll not survive if they catch hold of us. They're ferocious. Everyone run for your life. Upon seeing the Century Ghost members breaking down the defense of Qing Bisect by killing their experts, those rich folks and martial artists who were here for a tour were appalled. In particular, those martial artists had a huge change in their expressions as they hurriedly fled towards the island. Fishing is a term coined by the wandering sea groups. It meant robbing the valuables from the ordinary passengers and martial artists. If anyone encountered a ferocious wandering group and got fished, they would be killed. Hayak, trying to escape? Can you run away from us? A dozen Century Ghost members cast their gazes in Wang Xian's direction with glowing green radiance shooting out from their eyes. They began to hunt them down. Upon seeing the masked Century Ghost members charging towards them, those ordinary wealthy people were horrified as they ran towards the island. Hayak, let's start our fishing. One of the Century Ghost members in the middle had a perverted look in his eyes as the people before him screamed in panic. Holding onto a dazzling dagger, he licked his lips as he looked at a young woman. This bunch of fellows are so cruel. Elder Fong displayed a hint of anger when she saw the gruesome look on their faces. A bunch of trash. Kill them all. Wang Xian swept his gaze across all the Century Ghost members. In a swift stance, he darted towards one of them before him. Fishing? I will turn all of you into dead fish. Xiao Yu exhibited an intoxicating expression on her face. Ever since her strength had greatly enhanced, she'd had no chance to strike at all. Her quick movement was accompanied by a ferocious aura. Skeletal Dragon was out for a kill with swift and violent assaults. Xiao Yu did not like the appearance of the Skeletal Dragon. Still, she had no choice except to sweep up a violent attack. A loud explosion was given off in the air. With a palm movement, a bone sword appeared in her hand. The black bone sword was radiating pitch-black radiance as it was wielded at a Sentry Ghost member who was targeting a young woman. Chapter 402, Annihilating the Sentry Ghost. Chapter 402, Annihilating the Sentry Ghost. Ah, you dare to attack us? Ah, kill these recklessly ignorant fools first. When the dozen-odd members of the Sentry Ghost group saw Wang Xian, Xiao Yu and the group charging and attacking them, their expressions turned as cold as ice. The Sentry Ghost member in the center charged towards Xiao Yu with a dagger that glowed in a creepy green light. His savage-looking mask glowed dazzlingly. Noticing the speed at which Xiao Yu charged towards him, he was shocked. Little brat, you are pretty fast. However, let me show you the way of assassination. As that Sentry Ghost member moved his arm, the green dagger left after images. Seeing how arrogant and brazen this guy was, Xiao Yu was filled with contempt. She slashed down with the bone sword in her hands. How fast? That Sentry Ghost member was taken by surprise and immediately blocked it with the phantom-like dagger. Ka-ka. However, as the bone sword swung over, his dagger was easily sliced into two. At the same time, the long bone sword slashed down at the body of the Sentry Ghost member. Papa. That Sentry Ghost member stopped. The glow of his mask dissipated gradually, split in the middle and eventually fell to the ground. His eyes were filled with disbelief. A stream of blood flowed down from his head. He had been split in half from top to bottom. Xiao Yu was taken aback and clearly made uncomfortable by the scene. Die. At this instant, the other Sentry Ghost member to the left moved beside Xiao Yu like a specter. He had long claws which emanated a chilling green glow, and he swung them towards Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu was shocked and immediately stretched her left hand forward. A black bone spike extended out from her arm immediately. The bone spike was 3 to 4 meters long. To the astonishment of that Sentry Ghost member, the bone spike pierced through his chest. Seeing Xiao Yu easily kill 2 Sentry Ghost members in the blink of an eye, Wang Xian couldn't help but feel his mouth twitching. The attacks of a skeletal dragon were exceptionally brutal. Considering the toughness of Xiao Yu's bones, these bones could match the toughness of level 11 defensive equipment. At this point, even inborn spiritual weapon couldn't put a dent in Xiao Yu's impenetrable physique. Kill? Wang Xian threw his arm forward and streams of water shot towards the 5 water spirits before him. Bam! Bam! The 5 water spirits didn't put up the slightest resistance as they were instantly killed and their bodies slashed into 2 at the waist. I'll get those 4 inborn realm Sentry Ghost members. As for the rest, I'm leaving them to all of you. Wang Xian looked to Xiao Yu and the group as he spoke. Moving off, he headed over and attacked in the direction where the 4 Sentry Ghost members were surrounding the inborn experts from Qingbai sect. The expert from Qingbai sect was covered in wounds. Moreover, there was a layer of poison on these wounds causing sizzling sounds. That inborn expert's eyes were bloodshot. He had totally disregarded his life while battling with the 4 Sentry Ghost members. If the 4 Sentry Ghost members hadn't been thinking of avoiding injuries, the inborn expert from Qingbai sect would have long since been finished off. A pile of trash, and yet you guys dare to encroach on our sea territory and kill the innocent. How presumptuous. The 4 Sentry Ghost members who were attacking the expert from Qingbai sect suddenly heard a voice coming from behind them. They raised an eyebrow and looked at Wang Xian. There's another inborn expert. This is troublesome. Kill him. The 4 Sentry Ghost members were flushed with bloodlust. 2 of them charged forward immediately. A samurai sword slashed upwards while a razor-sharp claw swung down at the same time. Be careful. Their weapons are covered in poison. When the expert saw Wang Xian charging forward, he immediately reminded him of this loudly. 2 piles of trash. I can kill them as I wish. Wang Xian looked at the duo charging towards him with contempt. Picking up the scent of blood from them, his eyes turned chillingly cold. The scent of blood on the duo was even thicker than that on Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan. One had to note that Mo Yuan and Mo Qinglong had each killed 400 to 500 people when they annihilated the Dark Conjurers. However, the 2 Sentry Ghost members had taken even more lives. "Scumbag, I'm going to cut you up." The Sentry Ghost member, who was carrying a samurai sword with both hands, slashed upwards. "Ant." Wang Xian swung his hand and countless razor-sharp arrows shrouded towards the duo. Rumble. Thousands and thousands of water arrows shot out in unison towards the 2 Sentry Ghost members. However, the arrows were stopped by their weapons and eventually landed on the floor. The 2 Sentry Ghost members' expressions sank. "This guy is a little hard to deal with," a Sentry Ghost member commented as he looked alertly at Wang Xian. Boom. Boom. Suddenly the 2 of them sank rapidly into the sea. The seawater was just like a meat grinder and started circulating violently. Arg. Screams of desperation reverberated. The seawater was dyed red and soon the commotion died down. What? The other 2 Sentry Ghost members were shocked to see Hai Zuoto and Anai Zhu being slain instantly. The sea region isn't a place where trash like you guys can do as you wish in the future. Ruthlessness gleamed in the eyes of Wang Xian. As he moved, he appeared before the 2 Sentry Ghost members who'd had the inborn expert from Qing by sect cornered previously. Arg. Suddenly, pitiful cries reverberated from the yacht. When the 2 Sentry Ghost members turned around, they saw their underlings being killed off one after another. Bitterness and sadness shrouded their eyes. "Run." The 2 exchanged glances and remarked coldly. They didn't show any hesitation at all. One of them sprinted away while the other jumped directly into the sea. "Wanna run?" Wang Xian's figure shimmered and appeared before the 2 Sentry Ghost members instantly. How quick! That Sentry Ghost member's eyes shrank. He quickly threw a punch and scattered a green poisonous substance towards Wang Xian. Roar! At this instant, a roar erupted from the bottom of the sea. A huge snake emerged, swallowed the Sentry Ghost member and dived back into the sea. Wu Wu is dead. The last Sentry Ghost member called Shui Gue was petrified to sense that the presence of Wu Wu had dissipated completely. Shit. If you let us, the Sentry Ghost group, know about your identity, we will definitely let you experience the torture treatment from us. Shui Gue dived towards the bottom of the sea frantically. What? At this moment, he suddenly saw the young man who had attacked him previously before his eyes. His pupils shrank and fear welled up. Blop. Blop. All of a sudden, Shui Gue could sense the surrounding seawater crashing towards him. He held his neck in horror as he attempted to break away from the vice-like grip of the seawater over his neck. How can this be? I'm Shui Gue. How can his speed in water be? You are just an insignificant spirit. Wang Xian took a glance at Shui Gue before making his way back to the surface of the water. Thank you. Thank you, brother, for saving my life. The moment Wang Xian emerged from the sea, the inborn expert from Qing by sect hurried over and thanked him sincerely. You are welcome. These guys are too arrogant. Since they were in my way, I just had to clear them. Wang Xian nodded his head plainly and looked towards the yacht. At this instant, the commotion on the yacht died down. All the members of the Sentry Ghost group had been killed. I'd like to express my gratitude on behalf of Qing by sect for helping us out. The old man looked at Wang Xian, bowed down and clasped his right fist with his left palm as he spoke. He appeared to have something to add but stopped short of it. Young brother, are you Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown? Chapter 403, Establishing the Maritime Force. Chapter 403, Establishing the Maritime Force. Her? Wang Xian was not surprised that the old man had recognized him. In the underworld, not many people could recognize his look. But many people knew about his strength. There was only one person in the underworld who could kill the Sentry Ghost inborn members at such a young age. That was none other than Wang Xian. Hence, the old man from Qing by sect recognized him immediately. You're really the Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. The old man cupped his fist again with a tinge of shock in his eyes. Miracle Wang is indeed the youngest inborn expert and the #1 on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. Thank you. Wang Xian smiled at the old man before he waved a dismissive gesture and flew towards the cruise. Xiao Xian. Upon seeing Wang Xian, the ladies immediately went over to him. What a letdown. I wanted to stay here for a few more days to have fun. Xiao Yu grumbled as they observed the ruins around them. It was hard for them to find such an enjoyable recreation. They felt helpless when such a thing happened in the end. We can only head back. The surrounding cruises were sinking. Even though they were not totally submerged, they could no longer be used for recreational purposes. Some of the tourists and martial artists were still standing on the island, trembling in fear. From time to time, they kept looking over at the cruise ships with astonishment. Yes, we can only go back. Sigh, what a spoiler. Lan Qingyue and the rest shook their heads. Let's get back to our yacht. We can go to other places as you wish. Wang Xian chuckled as he spoke. Let's go over now. We still have about 10 days before our Chinese New Year. They headed to the yacht after much thought. After they returned to the yacht, Xiao Yu was asking for a mahjong session. The girls began to crowd around and played mahjong together. Wang Xian looked over with his chin lifted, and they reminded him of a scene in the movie Flirting Scholar. Is Miracle Dr. Wang around? Just then a voice was heard from the outside. Yes, come up please. Wang Xian walked out of the living room and came to the deck. That old man from Qingbai sect, along with a middle-aged man, arrived holding things in their hands. Miracle Dr. Wang. The old man walked over with respect while the middle-aged man put the things on a table. Miracle Wang, I'm Duan Muan from Qingbai sect. This is a small token of appreciation. I hope you like it. If it were not for you, we would have suffered a huge loss. Thanks for your help. The old man thanked Wang Xian once again. Okay. Wang Xian took a glance at the things on the table, but he did not turn them down. He looked around with doubt. Is it very frequent for such a thing to happen? The wandering sea groups will rob a few times in a year. But it is not common for such a formidable wandering sea group like Century Ghost to do it. The old man revealed a bitter smile. There were only 4 or 5 powerful wandering sea groups in the Asia region. They don't enter into our waters as they are usually active in the disordered region. Disordered region? Wang Xian thought of the markings around the disordered region on the map. Can you tell me more about the disordered region? Of course. The old man waved a friendly gesture while he was thinking of what to say. The disordered region is a place that has not been dominated by any of the forces. That region is a treasure-hunting ground. All the forces wanted to occupy that region, but it is on the cross-section point of 4 to 5 countries. Even those forces and organizations that are as strong as sacred sects are looking to occupy it. That region is a breeding ground for the spiritual medicine, pure blood coral. None of the forces are willing to let go, but none of the forces can get rid of the rest of the forces. As a result, dozens of forces are gathered over at that area, forming a disordered region. Subsequently, the emergence of the sea creatures has stirred up more of a mess in that sea region. Now, everyone is killing one another, robbing spiritual grass and treasures. Only those who are rather formidable or ruffians can conduct long-term activities over there, the old man explained slowly to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded. It was absolutely normal to have killings and robberies in a treasure ground without governance. When such a situation persisted for a long time, a disordered region in the sea was formed. I don't know why the Century Ghost Group dares to invade our territory. The foreign forces are getting brazen. Chinese underworld power remains weak in the international arena. The old man exclaimed, given our current situation, I don't know how many decades we will take to catch up with the foreign forces. Wang Xian smiled and nodded. This was not the first time he heard that the underworld's forces were weak. Compared to those forces in the foreign countries, the ancestral clans in the underworld were much weaker. The Chinese ancestral clans liked to keep it to themselves. All the precious manuals would be carefully hidden, and the conditions to inherit them were rather stringent. To prevent the leak of cultivation manuals, many families and clans only allowed men to inherit them. Coupled with the history of when the imperial court was in power, they wantonly burned all the secret manuals to prevent martial artists from creating disorder. Since then, many secret manuals disappeared. Generation after generation, the almost invincible underworld had now become the weakest existence in the international arena. Even the knight and mage bloodline from Europe was much more powerful. This was also the reason why Fire God denomination dared to infiltrate the underworld and annihilate Flame Palace. After chatting with Duan Muan, Wang Xian realized he was someone who worried about the nation and could not take it lying down that the underworld's forces were weak. At the same time, he was also disgruntled with the internal strife in the underworld. Those domestic families and clans were killing each other for just an acre of resources, treasures, and spiritual grasses. Yet, the international forces had already set their eyes on the vast ocean and began to plunder resources from other countries. Qing Bai sect often came into contact with these international forces as their territory was located in the middle of the sea. Hence they often felt great pressure. Wang Xian listened and chatted with him for half an hour before sending the old man off. This Qing Bai sect is not bad. From the conversation with Duan Muwen, Wang Xian came to an understanding that the competition at the ocean was much higher than the peaceful domestic land. Many of the disciples were not as arrogant as those in the mainland as well. This had something to do with their living environment. The powerful ancestral sects in the mainland raised arrogant disciples that no one dared to provoke. In the long run, they developed haughty and demanding characteristics. The disciples from the sects in the sea had stayed in a dangerous and competitive environment for too long. They had encountered too many stronger opponents, which developed into their cautious characteristics. Disordered region. Wang Xian took out that map again and drew his lips. Whether the underworld's forces were weak or strong, it was none of his business. But he could take down the disordered region first. He could start with this region and clean up various clans and forces in the sea. Great. The golden swordfish are learning how to speak and read. I can build them into a formidable maritime force, wiping out everyone else. Chapter 404, Guild Leader of the Sacred Followers Guild. Chapter 404, Guild Leader of the Sacred Followers Guild. There are still 50 Dragonians in the Dragon Sect, and if they are to grow stronger, they will be a force that could dominate the underworld. In the sea there were also around 130 golden swordfish. Suppressing the forces in the sea region in the vicinity shouldn't be a problem at all either. It would take a huge amount of resources to level up the Dragon Palace. He would have to seize all resources available frantically for future developments. The forces overseas are really strong? Wang Xian's lips curved into a faint smile. It would not be long before he led the members of the Dragon Palace into the international stage. It would be just like the present situation where those who were unwilling to submit would all be destroyed. When the day arrives, perhaps no one will ever say the Chinese underworld is weaker. Wang Xian smiled as he plotted out his plans in his mind. Buzz. 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 Suddenly Wang Xian's phone rang. He took a glance and realized it was old Qin looking for him. Brother Wang Xian, where are you now? The voice of old Qin sounded from the other end of the phone the moment the call was connected. I'll be returning to River Town soon. What's the matter, old Qin? Did something happen? Wang Xian replied with a smile. He had been keeping in contact with old Qin and old Shui all this while. He had relied on their help to gather the materials required for the Dragon Palace. It'll be the new year soon. Let's find a time to have a gathering. Besides that, I would like to ask if Brother Wang Xian would be interested and have the time to attend a banquet for the wealthy and powerful families 2 days from now? Old Qin smiled and asked Wang Xian. A gathering for the wealthy and powerful families? Wang Xian was curious and asked, what is the nature of the gathering? All the influential figures, ancient martial artist families and the super-rich from the southern province will come together. This is a gathering of the super-rich and influential people. At that time there will also be an auction. There should be some good stuff and things relating to the ancient martial arts circle wouldn't be lacking, answered old Qin. All right. I'll be in Rivertown tomorrow. At that time, let's have a meet-up at the first-grade restaurant, Wang Xian said heartily. All right. After chatting with old Qin for some time, Wang returned to the living room in the yacht. Seeing that the girls were still excited and engrossed in their games, he went to the upper deck to take a break. At night, Mo Qinglong steered the yacht towards Rivertown. When dawn had just broken, the yacht stopped beside the villa. The group alighted and headed towards the villa. Oh, my dear disciple. Is Brother Wang Xian around? Soon after, Sui Huang's voice resonated in the villa. Beside him, there was a white-bearded old man. The old man looked much shorter and smaller compared to Sui Huang. However, his eyes were bright and one could easily tell that he wasn't ordinary. He had white attire that wasn't tainted in the least bit, and had an exceptional demeanor. Sui Huang just come in. Wang Xian sat on the sofa while playing with the Heavenly Hound. The girls continued their mahjong game after getting addicted to it on the yacht. Wang Xian looked across and his attention fell on the old man in white attire. He squinted his eyes. This was someone who was at the same level as Sui Huang. From him, Wang Xian could sense the aura of a grandmaster. Even Sui Huang didn't have the same aura. While Wang Xian was observing the old man in white, the old man was also observing Wang Xian and the few people around him. Xiao Yu and Elder Fang have recovered. Sui Huang was shocked to see Xiao Yu and Elder Fang who were playing mahjong. Old Sui, we have all recovered. Xiao Yu and Elder Fang stood up immediately and replied joyously. Your strength. Sui Huang was shocked to feel the frightening energies emanating from Xiao Yu and Elder Fang. Besides that, he also felt threatened by Lan Qingyue who was beside them. This made him feel great disbelief. He had inspected that horrifying venom personally a while back and found it to be extremely tricky. As such, he came to the conclusion that they had zero chance of recovery. He had also consulted Old Huang, the number 2 on the World Miracle Doctor's chart. The response he got was incurable, and Old Huang was helpless about the venom. Yet, not only had they recovered, but their strength had also reached an incredible level. At least the inborn realm. You little devil. You aren't simple and must be hiding a lot of secrets. Sui Huang raised an eyebrow. Beside him, the old man in white attire was shocked. Everyone in the villa seemed insane to him. Even the dog that was lying in one corner wasn't simple. In the entire villa, the one that gave him the strongest threat was that young man. All is well as long as they recover. All is well. Sui Huang smiled and looked at Wang Xian. Let me introduce you. This is Old Huang, the guild leader of the Sacred Followers Guild and the strongest miracle doctor in China. Old Huang, there's some misunderstanding that requires resolving. Hello, Old Huang. Wang Xian looked at the guild leader of the sacred clan and revealed a faint smile. Heroes often emerge when they are young. We have all aged. Old Huang looked at Wang Xian and exclaimed in surprise, I have heard from Old Sui about the incident brother Wang Xian had with the Sacred Followers Guild. Regarding this matter, I hope we can now put an end to it. All right. As long as the Sacred Followers Guild doesn't offend me, I won't go offend you guys. Hehe. Offending this little brother has turned out to be extremely costly. Old Huang laughed plainly. Naturally. If there's anyone who targets me or my kin, my only option will be to kill all of them. Wang Xian wore a smile and illustrated a fact that was clear to him. In that case, this matter shall rest here. The Sacred Followers Guild won't make things difficult for brother Wang Xian in the future. I can give you my assurance on it. Old Huang, what do you think? Seeing the conversation between the two was getting confrontational, Sui Huang interrupted and attempted to mediate. All right. I'm clear when it comes to right or wrong. My Sacred Followers Guild was at fault in this matter. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Old Huang replied frankly. In that case, I welcome your arrival. Please take a seat. Wang Xian smiled. The guild leader of the Sacred Followers Guild was still an upright person who clearly differentiated between right and wrong. Although it was difficult for them to become friends, they wouldn't have to be enemies. With Sui Huang in the middle, the three of them were able to have a friendly chat for several minutes. Wang Xian consulted Old Huang as to whether he had any of that venom left. Old Huang responded by shaking his head. This venom was obtained from a deep valley by an elder. That elder had also died from the venom. Only a small amount was left in their treasure trove, which was subsequently taken by Elder Feng. After Sui Huang and Old Huang left, Wang Xian led a carefree life for an additional 2 days. On the morning of the 3rd day, he headed towards Flow City together with Old Qin and the rest. The gathering of the super rich was organized by the richest man in the southern province. He had invited all the rich people and families in the southern province. Basically, all those who were famous and influential would be turning up. The richest man of the southern province, Sun Qian, could even make it to the richest man chart nationally. He has family assets worth hundreds of billions. Not only is he wealthy, but he also has strong backing. There should be several hundreds of people turning up this time. However, with the name brother Wang Xian has made for yourself, even Mogul Sun will have to show respect to you. Hehe. Chapter 405, Gathering of the Super Rich, 1. Chapter 405, Gathering of the Super Rich, 1. Sitting in the luxurious car of the Qin family, Old Qin and Wang Xian were exchanging conversations. Xiao Yu and the rest did not attend the gathering this time, except for Lan Qingyue. However, she was going with her family. This was not the first time for a gathering of the super-rich in the southern province. Sun Qian, the richest man, held it annually to recruit talents and investment enterprises. That was the reason why he was in the top 10 richest in the country with his assets. He was the true blue tycoon and great entrepreneur. No one was better than him in the entire southern province. Even old Qin was a far cry from him. However, Qin family was still ranked in the top 3 in the entire southern province. Why would such gathering invite the ancient martial art families of the southern province? Wang Xian asked puzzledly. There are some reasons for it. Mogul's son was lucky enough to obtain an inheritance when he was young. It was part of Liu Ban's inheritance. Once so, he entered into the machinery industry and used 30 years to establish the largest machinery group within the country. Then, he took some prescriptions from the underworld and set up his own pharmaceutical company. The rise of the richest man, Mogul's son, has got something to do with underworld. As a result, he invites ancient martial arts families to the annual gathering. Old Qin smiled and explained, now his company is based in Modu. There's only a factory in the Flow City, and he only comes here every Chinese New Year. Wang Xian nodded with surprise. Using Liu Ban's inheritance to set up a machinery factory and the prescriptions to set up a pharmaceutical group, Mogul's son must be a genius. The car was heading to the southern province first-level divisional area. Longhuan Manor. This is Mogul's son's manor in Flow City. It's also the biggest manor in the entire southern province. When they reached a manor that was near a lake, old Qin walked down and pointed somewhere to the front. Indeed, the richest man in southern province. Wang Xian looked ahead with a smile on his face. The entire manor was near a lake. Although it was known to be a manor, it could also be called a castle. The estate spanned over an area of at least 5,000 square meters. As it was close to the lake, the scenery was beautiful. Just like what its name Longhuan suggested, the place was like a utopia. When Wang Xian and old Qin were heading to old Shui's car after getting out of the car, Wang Xian spotted a familiar vehicle. There were hundreds of luxurious cars parked in the lot beside the lake, and 4 to 5 helicopters at the side. Amid those luxurious cars, Wang Xian spotted a heavy-duty motorcycle, the Harley bike. Isn't that the one I gave Wang Dahai? Is he here? When Wang Xian saw the car plate number, he was slightly stunned. Wang Dahai's family background was not bad. His family owned approximately millions of assets. But they were still not eligible to be here for this gathering. What's wrong, Wang Xian? Old Shui walked over. He saw Wang Xian's doubtful look. I saw a familiar vehicle. Let me make a call. Wang Xian laughed. He took out his phone and called Wang Dahai. Yo, old Wang. Dahai, where are you? I'm attending a gathering. What? Is it at Longhuan Manor? Where are you? I'm at the entrance. Really? You're here too? Great, wait for me there. I'm coming. Subsequently, he heard Wang Dahai talking to someone. Why is Wang Dahai here? After Wang Xian hung up the phone, he raised an eyebrow. Old Qin, old Shui, you can go ahead first. I'm waiting for a classmate. Oh, okay, we'll wait for you inside. Old Qin nodded. Sure, I'll be there soon. Wang Xian nodded as he walked to the entrance of the manor. This manor is quite impressive. As he stood at the doorway, Wang Xian was observing the manor. Old Wang. Within minutes, Wang Dahai showed up, running to him while calling out for him. Dahai, why are you here? Wang Xian walked towards him. I'm here to visit my grandpa since it's the vacation now. It's great, my grandpa brought me here to broaden my horizons. Wang Dahai was elated as he spoke. Let's go. I'll take you inside. Your grandpa. Wang Xian was slightly taken aback. My grandpa used to be in the first batch of employees working for Mogul Sunday. Now he's the vice president of the factory in Flow City. Wang Dahai chuckled. My dad was even more impressive. He came from the countryside and brought my mum down. But my grandpa looked down on my dad. Wang Dahai then asked, why are you here then? I'm here with friends. Wang Xian replied. TSK, look at this manor. It's simply beautiful. Sigh, how I wish I could stay in such a manor. Wang Dahai looked around the manor with an envious face. Old Wang, don't forget to invite me when you own such a manor. Wang Xian chuckled. He observed the manor, and it could not be compared to any average mansions. The entire manor was filled with elegant and pretty pavilions. Just the maintenance alone would take a dozen workers. Wang Dahai brought him to a huge banquet hall. The entire hall was luxurious, with hundreds of guests sitting inside, exchanging conversations. Wang Xian looked around and did not see old Qin or old Shui. Let's find a place to sit down and talk. The banquet will start later in the afternoon. Wang Dahai led Wang Xian to a place and took 2 beverages from a waiter smilingly. Then they sat at a table. There were other dashing young men and pretty babes at the table. The young men were in neat suits with stylish hairstyles. The ladies were in evening dresses, exchanging conversations in an elegant posture. "Cousin, is that your friend?" A girl whose face was small looked over. As soon as she spotted Wang Xian, she asked this of him puzzledly. "Yes, he's my classmate. He's awesome. Even though he is younger than me, he has made a fortune for himself." Wang Dahai replied to that girl proudly. "Oh." Wang Dahai's cousin was sizing up Wang Xian with surprise. Dashing, with outstanding demeanor which was way better than her boyfriend. So she could not help but take a few more looks. Why did he dress so casually to attend such an event like this? At this time, a young man who was sitting by the side of Wang Dahai's cousin was unhappy that his girlfriend was observing Wang Xian. He threw her a displeased look and fixed his eyes on Wang Xian. Upon hearing what that young man said, the rest of them looked towards Wang Xian. A sweater and ordinary slacks with a pair of sneakers. Such dressing was simply out of place in that environment. Wang Dahai's cousin noticed the displeasure of her boyfriend. She also spotted what Wang Xian was wearing. "It's a little inappropriate. Cousin, there's still some time. Bring your classmate to change into formal attire. How can he be dressed so casually on such an important occasion? He would only make others feel that he isn't showing them respect." Chapter 406, Gathering of the Super Rich, 2. Chapter 406, Gathering of the Super Rich, 2. "It's a little inappropriate. Cousin, there's still some time. Bring your classmate to change into a set of formal attire. How can he be dressed so casually on such an important occasion? He will only make others feel that he isn't showing them respect." The voice of Wang Dahai's cousin came across. The young man sitting next to her cousin looked across at Wang Xian with contempt. A person's qualities, upbringing, attire and language can show a person's wealth. There are things that a man who suddenly got rich can't display. It takes 3 generations to nurture a noble family. The young man had his arm across Wang Dahai's cousin's waist. He stared at Wang Xian with a face of smiles but was clearly looking down on him. Several other young men who were sitting beside Wang Xian smirked and were clearly despising Wang Xian. A man who suddenly got rich often looked down on the poor, while a person from a noble family often looked down on those who got rich suddenly. For a man who got rich suddenly to become a noble family, it would take at least 3 generations. The first generation would provide the capital potential, to hold properties and gain knowledge. The second generation would hold material capital and would possess the ability to create wealth over sustained periods. The third generation was when the mental capital was generated. In their eyes, the young man that came to the banquet dressed so casually wouldn't even have reached the level of the first generation. In the field, those who were here were all from the richest families, ancient martial arts families, or those with extremely wide influence in their cities. They had an exceptional upbringing and family backgrounds. Without exaggerating, one could call them noble families. Wang Xian was taken aback upon hearing Wang Dahai's cousin. He took a glance at this outfit and chuckled to himself. At the only 2 banquets he had ever attended, people commented about his attire. However, it was just like they had said. Wang Xian wasn't part of the so-called nobles. He didn't pay much attention to that and simply wore what he preferred to wear. In his perspective, the so-called nobles were just a joke. Noble race. The strong had never been restricted by the customs of the world. Moreover, ordinary people would only look up to the experts with fear and respect. They wouldn't criticize them for their attire. This was because they weren't qualified to give their comments. Wang Xian looked across the group and shrugged his shoulders nonchalantly before picking up the cup of fruit juice Wang Dahai had brought for him. Wang Dahai smiled bitterly when he saw how Wang Xian reacted. He asked softly, "Old Wang, do you want to change into formal attire?" "I'm good. That's too troublesome." Wang Xian shook his head and replied apathetically. "This isn't very appropriate." Wang Dahai was hesitant. This brother of his was exceptionally mysterious with strong influence in Rivertown. He could even donate several tens of millions to the school on a whim. However, this banquet was a gathering of the most super rich in the entire southern province. River Town was just a small city in the southern province. Moreover, this was a gathering hosted by the richest man in the southern province. Dressing too casually might give one the impression that he was rude. Wang Xian smiled and shook his head. He looked to the side and saw two old men walking towards the main hall in ordinary Chinese tunic suits. He asked, "Aren't they in ordinary attire too?" "Ah, you are really interesting." "Really?" "Haha, you are comparing yourself to old Wu and old Li? Do you know who they are? They are the family heads of a second-class ancient martial arts family. What gives you the guts to even say that?" The moment Wang Xian completed his words, the group of young men by the side chuckled and looked at him as though they were looking at a retard. Wang Dahai's cousin was also taken aback and was speechless. Initially, she had thought the classmate of her cousin to be a gifted person. She had not expected him to be that dumb, as she wondered how Wang Xian had even gotten in here. "Oh friend, do you have an invitation card?" Wang Dahai's cousin looked at Wang Xian and asked coldly. "I came in with my friends." Hearing their ridicule and seeing their eyes filled with contempt and looking at him, Wang Xian replied to the lady. "So that's how it is." Wang Dahai's cousin displayed an "as I expected" expression. Clearly, he wasn't qualified to receive an invitation from Mogul Sunday. "Dahai, keep a distance from this classmate of yours. Otherwise, Grandpa will be getting some unnecessary criticisms." Wang Dahai's cousin said softly to him. "Cousin, I..." Wang Dahai was taken aback and was shocked. He had not expected his cousin to say such words. This embarrassed him as his expression turned solemn. "Dahai, listen to your cousin. Don't bring unnecessary troubles to your grandpa," the young man beside Wang Dahai's cousin said softly to him. "TSK. Cousin, just leave us alone," Wang Dahai replied with a stern face. I'm not trying to control you. I'm doing this for Grandpa." "You?" Wang Dahai's cousin stared furiously at him. "Let's go take a seat by the side." Wang Dahai pulled Wang Xian along by the sleeves and went to the side. Wang Xian smiled faintly and shook his head. He followed behind Wang Dahai to a seat by the side. "Old Wang, please don't take it to heart. My cousin can be quite mean," Wang Dahai apologized to Wang Xian. "It's all right. I won't be bothered by them. They even claim to be from the noble race," Wang Xian chuckled. He walked to the side and took 2 cups of red wine. After giving Wang Dahai a toast, he smiled and said, "It seems like your standing in the family is a little low." "Hee, that's not entirely right. Although I, your brother, am not as incredible as you, I still can inherit a substantial amount of wealth in the future." Wang Dahai raised an eyebrow and continued agitatedly, "Several of my uncles don't have a son and my grandfather sees me as his grandson. Although my grandfather didn't like my father, he is still pretty fond of me. Otherwise, my grandfather wouldn't have brought me here." "So, you are a future tycoon." Wang Xian looked at Wang Dahai, feeling a little shocked. "I guess I'm doing fine. I should still be getting at least a few million. Because of that, my cousin isn't very fond of me." Wang Dahai broke into laughter and didn't seem to be too concerned. After all, he rarely interacted with his cousins. His grandfather had only brought him along this time and didn't bring along his cousins. His cousin had tagged along with her boyfriend this time. "Xiaoyu, your cousin is really..." At one side, Wang Dahai's cousin was unhappy to see Wang Dahai pulling his friend to the side. "TSK. His father came from a village. At that time, my grandfather was against their marriage. Now he's just acting like his father. Those that they knew are all inferior people." Wang Dahai's cousin shook his head disdainfully. She felt embarrassed and therefore changed the topic and chatted about other topics with the rest. Wang Dahai talked about the happenings in the school with Wang Xian. Gradually, more and more people arrived at the main hall. The entire hall was segregated into different tiers. The older generation would sit at the front, the middle-aged generation sat in the middle while the youngest generation would sit at the back. The younger generation wasn't fond of moving forward either, as they had fewer things to look out for when chatting with people similar to their age. Soon, a huge crowd of young men and ladies from the entire southern province had gathered. Chapter 407, The Little Prince of Flow City, 1. Chapter 407, The Little Prince of Flow City, 1. Dashing young men and pretty babes were all dressed in prim and proper attire as they exchanged conversations with faces full of smiles. Gee, there are so many babes here. As he spoke, Wang Dahai put his arm around Wang Xian's shoulder while he observed the babes around him with glistening eyes. I could work less hard for 20 or 30 years if I married any one of them. Don't you have Su Qian? What? You want to get another lover? Wang Xian raised his eyebrow as he asked Wang Dahai. Talking about that, you're the fucking awesome one. The two goddesses in our school. Tell me, how did you do it? I'm just having my eye candy now. I don't even look at other women when I'm with Su Qian, said Wang Dahai with envy as he looked at Wang Xian. Here's one finger for you to comprehend. Wang Xian smiled and put up a finger. Takakato? Erect 7 times in one night? Wang Dahai stared at him with his wide-opened eyes. This is called continuously. 2. Wang Xian smirked as Wang Dahai pointed his middle finger to him with contempt. Both of them began to evaluate the babes around them again. When guys get together, that is what they do. But Wang Dahai's cousin and a few around them were full of ridicule and contempt when they saw what the duo was doing. Her? Xiao Xiang? When Wang Xian was looking around, he suddenly saw a familiar figure walking in. A boy walked in as he timidly looked at the crowd around him. Apparently he was not used to such an environment. Xiao Xiang, over here. Wang Xian smiled and reached out his arm, waving to that boy. Upon seeing Wang Xian, Ji Xiang was stunned for a moment before he ran over with a beaming face. Elder brother. Ji Xiang's face was filled with happiness as he ran to Wang Xian. Why are you here alone? Where's your father? Asked Wang Xian while stroking his hair. Ji Xiang was completely back to an ordinary person with a fair-looking skin tone on his face. I told my dad that I wanted to come here alone so that I can be independent. He came here early, but I don't know where he is now. Ji Xiang was a little shy as he spoke. Come, sit over here. Wang Xian smiled as he patted an empty seat beside him. Seeing Wang Dahai's doubtful look, he explained, he's a son of my friend. At this time, Maniac Ji was considered to be a friend, a loyal friend. When the Sacred Followers Guild came to River Town for his life, Wang Xian had not informed Maniac Ji. Yet, Maniac Ji rushed to him immediately. At that time, Maniac Ji killed several people from the Sacred Enforcer team. When Maniac Ji came, Wang Xian was astounded. Wang Xian had not asked him to come, but he came because of his promise. His promise had put him in a position that went against a sacred sect. Wang Xian was speechless about that. In his heart, he already took him as his friend and not someone who owed him a favor. It was his honor to know someone like him in life. Okay, brother. Ji Xiang smiled. I haven't seen you for a while and you've grown up, said Wang Xian as he looked at Ji Xiang. He chuckled as he replied, thanks to you. Haha. Wang Xian patted him on the shoulder. Her? Another ill-mannered lad? What the? Birds of a feather flocked together. At this time, Wang Xian's cousin and several young men had disdainful expressions on their faces when they saw another young lad walk to Wang Xian and Wang Dahai. The shy-looking juvenile was about 14 or 15. His feeble behavior exhibited a lack of confidence which made it evident that he was not someone from a noble family. Besides, that boy was wearing an ordinary student outfit, which was even more amusing. Wang Dahai's cousin felt embarrassed at once as she threw the trio a disdainful glance. Young Master Nan, Young Master Luan, Young Master Feng are here. The top-notch young masters of Flow City are here. At this moment, those young men and babes beside Wang Dahai's cousin were astounded when they saw those people who strolled in. All of them turned to those people with trepidation. Jingshan, who are they? Asked Wang Dahai's cousin when she saw the aghast look on those people beside her. They're the top-notch young masters of Flow City, the future successors of 3 families which nobody can afford to offend in Flow City. The young man reminded Wang Dahai's cousin with a stern look. Young Master Feng and the rest are walking to us. Just then all of them witnessed those few young men walking over. The few people beside Wang Dahai's cousin hurriedly stood up and greeted them with radiant smiles. Young Master Feng, Young Master Luan, Young Master Luan. They nodded their heads indifferently as they looked around. After which, they turned their attention to them again. Are there any seats? Yes, here. The young men beside Wang Dahai's cousin smiled apologetically. Young Master Feng, Young Master Luan, Young Master Nan, you can sit over here. Please take a seat. The three young men went over and sat down without the slightest humility. Apparently they did not regard these people highly. The three of you go over to the other side and give your seats to us. When the young men beside Wang Dahai's cousin saw young Master Feng and the rest take their seats, they looked at Wang Xian and Wang Dahai and frowned. Wang Dahai froze for a moment, looking startled. Why should we go? These are our seats. Dahai, get lost now if we asked you to. Stop your whining. Go to another corner with your classmate. Wang Dahai's cousin glowered at him with impatience. Cousin, why should we? Wang Dahai pulled his face, but he stood up eventually and tugged Wang Xian's clothes with a sullen face. Ignore them. Let them find their own seats. Wang Xian glanced at Wang Dahai's cousin and the rest with a touch of contempt on his face. Brat, I asked you to give up your seats and you should do what I say. Are you unhappy about this? When a young man saw Wang Xian's attitude, he stared daggers at him. Hurry up. Get lost now and stop being so ignorant. When those young men saw young Master Feng and the rest walking over, they immediately pulled long faces at Wang Xian. The smile disappeared from Wang Xian's face as he swept his gaze across those young men. You really treat this place like your house. You, a country bumpkin. Do you think you are fit to sit here? Go to one corner and stay there. Look at both of you, don't you feel embarrassed about yourselves? A young man stood up, looking over at Wang Xian and casting cold gazes at the trio. These are our seats, said Jixiang weakly with slight blush on his cheek. He had confusion in his eyes when he saw the few young men staring daggers at him and Wang Xian with disgust. You little brat, can jolly well scram to one corner with your bumpkin brother. Look at your attire. How dare you even attend this kind of gathering over here? I don't even know how you guys got in. The young man beside Wang Dahai's cousin sneered as he glared at Jixiang. Chapter 408, The Little Prince of Flow City 2. Chapter 408, The Little Prince of Flow City 2. Old Wang, forget it. Let's not be calculative with them. Wang Dahai looked at his cousin and the group of young men and felt exceptionally embarrassed. He pulled Wang Xian on the arm softly and wanted to leave. Wang Xian raised an eyebrow but didn't say a word. At this instant, young Master Feng, young Master Luan and young Master Nan, who were sitting to the side, heard the commotion from the direction where Wang Xian was at. They turned around with radiant smiles, waiting to watch the show. Boom. Suddenly, their faces stiffened when they looked across Wang Xian's group and stood up instantly. Little young master. The three of them exchanged glances before taking a second look to verify. They were shocked and surprised. Can you hear us? Bring this little brat along and get out of here. At this moment, a young man's voice reverberated. This made the three of them shiver as their faces sank. Little brat. The three of them looked at the group of young men who were looking down at Wang Xian, Wang Dahai and Jixiang. When they heard the group of young men mocking them, their eyelids twitched violently. The three of them forced a faint smile and walked forward immediately. Who's pushing? A young man frowned and chided loudly after feeling a huge force pushing him aside. However, when he saw that it was young Master Feng and his friends, he immediately swallowed back his words. Young Master Feng, young Master Luan, young Master Nan, the group of young men instantly greeted deferentially. However, the three of them didn't pay any attention to the group. The trio forced a smile and walked directly towards Jixiang. It was as though they had noticed it wasn't polite for them to look down. Therefore the three of them squatted. The group of young men behind him looked on in disbelief. They had to be courteous and respectful before young Master Feng, young Master Luan and young Master Nan. Yet, the three of them were currently squatting deferentially before the little boy in the school uniform and greeting him as, Little Young Master. Jixiang was initially taken aback. However, he showed a smile soon after and said, Big Brother Feng, Big Brother Luan, Big Brother Nan. Greetings, little young master. Greetings, little young master. The three of them responded immediately with smiles. From their expressions, one could easily tell that they were both respectful and fearful. Others might not know, but they knew clearly who this little boy in the school uniform was. He's the son of Maniac G, the only son. In the entire Flow City, Maniac G was the only inborn expert and the de facto ruler. All the families like theirs could only look up in fear. The little boy before them was his only son. In other words, one could also consider him to be the little prince of Flow City. It was just a short time ago that this little young master had appeared before the eyes of the crowd. Young little master was sent to the third year of high school directly. Also, it was said that several classmates bullied him because of the seating arrangement. In the end, Maniac G headed to the school the next day after learning about his son being bullied and demanded to meet the parents of these kids. The parents of these kids were arrogant, accusing Maniac G of interfering and nagging about matters that should be settled between their kids. They even said that his son deserved to be bullied if his son couldn't do anything about it himself. The outcome was easily predictable. The parents of those kids were killed. There weren't many who knew about this matter. However, as 3 second-class forces in Flow City, they were well informed about this incident. In the past, Maniac G was daring enough to kill a miracle doctor for his son. For now, there was no way he was going to let the people who bullied his son off. Yet, these ignorant and brazen parents were chiding and reprimanding his little prince. "Little young master, is there anyone who is bullying you? If there is, tell us and leave them to us," said the 3 young men with radiant smiles. Jianghu smiled at them and didn't say a word. The 3 young masters were puzzled to see Wang Xian being so close to this little young master. From it, they deduced that he likely had deep connections with Maniac G. "Greetings, big brother." The 3 young men disregarded Wang Xian's age as they greeted him sincerely. "Get the few of them away." Wang Xian nodded his head emotionlessly and responded to the 3 young men. "Yes, yes." Seeing how composed and calm Wang Xian was, young Master Feng, young Master Luan and young Master Nan were even more certain that Wang Xian couldn't be a simple person. They immediately nodded their heads and stood up. At this very moment, Wang Dahai's cousin and the group of young men completely froze up. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and horror. The most elite young masters of Flow City were actually squatting down and acting deferentially towards a young boy who they had called a brat. This can't be. This can't be. Seeing the 3 young masters standing up, all of them were breaking out in a cold sweat. Wang Dahai's cousin stood by the side and watched blankly. "This is a banquet by Mogul's son and we won't do anything ourselves here. Get out of our sight and wait for your deaths." The smiles on the 3 young masters disappeared as they looked coldly across the group of young men. "Young Master Feng, young Master Luan, young Master Nan? We." When the group of young men heard the 3 young masters, cold sweat broke out from all parts of their bodies. Their faces turned pale as they swallowed their saliva, and their eyes were filled with horror. "Don't let us repeat ourselves for the second time," said the 3 young masters plainly. Their gazes were cold and made the group of young men feel as though they had fallen into an ice cellar. The group of young men were dumbfounded. Their bodies were shivering and they appeared to be thinking of begging for mercy. "Scram. Otherwise, I'll erase all your families from Flow City." Seeing that they weren't leaving, the 3 young masters issued their last warning. "We will get lost right away. We will get lost right away." The group of young men were desolated as they walked away like distraught zombies. Wang Xian looked at their back views with contempt before smiling and patting the shoulders of Jianghu. He was also checking his strength at the same time. "Level 2 martial artist. Pretty good. Jianghu, these are some gifts from Big Brother." As Wang Xian finished his words, he took out several pills. 3 level 2 and level 3 elixir pills each. All of these pills were greatly beneficial for cultivation. "Your father will know when to let you consume them," Wang Xian explained and handed the pills into Jianghu's hands after seeing his puzzled face. These elixir pills were made from the spiritual medicine Qing Bai sect had given him. He had made 13 level 2 and level 3 elixir pills each and had intended to exchange them for treasures if there were any. "These are elixir pills. Level 2 and level 3 elixir pills." Just as the 3 young masters turned around, they saw the gifts Wang Xian had for Jianghu. Their pupils couldn't help but constrict as they looked on with disbelief. Elixir pills. These were elixir pills. Level 2 and level 3 elixir pills were equivalent to level 3 and level 4 spiritual medicine. If one were to use cash to purchase a level 4 spiritual medicine, he would require $700 to $800 million. Level 3 elixir pills were even more valuable and couldn't be measured in monetary terms. Giving out gifts that are worth hundreds of millions casually. The 3 young masters could feel the edges of their mouths twitching as they witnessed this astonishing incident. A person like this would never be simple. In fact, his relationship with Maniac G might not be that between a senior and a junior. Big brother, my father told me to not accept gifts from others casually. Ji Xiang looked hesitant as he replied to Wang Xian. It will be fine. Just tell them it was from me. Your father won't say a thing. Wang Xian waved his hand. It was just a few elixir pills. Although they were valuable, level 2 and level 3 elixir pills weren't really precious items to him at this juncture. Giving them as gifts to the son of Maniac G could also be a recognition of Maniac G as a friend. Chapter 409, Everyone was shocked. Chapter 409, Everyone was shocked. What should we do? What should we do? At this moment, the 6 young men and babes were paled with confusion in their eyes as they walked to one corner of the hall. They sat there with trembling bodies, faces down, murmuring to themselves with trepidation. What the 3 young masters had said was not a joke. Especially the juvenile who had squatted beside him and addressed him as, "Little young master?" Who else could that little young master be in the entire Flow City? They felt a strong sense of despair having actually offended someone like this. Those people were lost, breaking out in a cold sweat continuously. Wang Dahai's cousin was confused as well. Never did she expect that her cousin's classmate would know the juvenile from a terrifying background. Those 3 young men were the successors of the supreme class families in Flow City. They were people who her boyfriend should respect and be fearful of. Yet, those people were squatting over there talking to that young boy with all due respect. Hence, the boyfriend of Wang Daxin's cousin was dazed. He cast his gaze over there when he saw the shy juvenile exchanging conversations with that young man happily. He grimaced. "We should really let our family know otherwise," said a young man who was almost in tears as he looked to the few people beside him. They were really petrified. "Xiaoyu, your cousin. Your cousin's classmate seems to be on good terms with that juvenile. Go and beg your cousin. Ask your grandpa to beg your cousin. Otherwise, young Master Feng and the rest will really cripple us." The young man grabbed Xiaoyu's arm and spoke with trepidation. "Me? Beg my cousin?" Xiaoyu was stunned. How could she beg the cousin who she had been looking down on? "Get your grandpa. Get him to talk to your cousin. Only that young man can save us now. Xiaoyu, go. Please beg your grandpa," said those young men who lifted up their chins, staring at her with wide and round eyes. I. Go on. Do you want to witness our deaths?" Xiaoyu hesitated. But those young men grimaced at her. "Fine, I'll go and beg my grandpa." Xiaoyu, with her eyes red, stood up immediately as those young men scowled at her. "Xiao Xian, your second wife is here." At this time Wang Dahai scoffed at Wang Xian, who froze for a moment before he turned to the entrance. Lan Qingyue walked into the banquet hall in a maroon gown, smiling from ear to ear. Several middle-aged men from the Lan family were tagging along with her. In her maroon evening dress and red high heels, Lan Qingyue was smiling more often as compared to her previous aloof look. Lan Qingyue gave off a noble and glamorous temperament after Wang Xian made her a real woman, and after obtaining the inheritance of ancient god Kuan breeder. In her heels, her height of 1.8 meters was the center of attraction immediately. The arrival of Lan Qingyue seemed to have brought a ravishing glow to the entire hall. "Look, it's the Lan family from River Town. She's the general manager of deep-sea jewelry, Lan Qingyue. Gosh, she is simply gorgeous. That maroon evening dress coupled with her height. Any international models would be a far cry from her." At only 22 years old, she has already assumed the authority of Lan family, heading deep-sea jewelry with a market value of 30 billion. She's the true blue rich girl and a business tycoon. She's just like what the rumors said. The youngest and prettiest rich girl in River Town. She's just so beautiful. If I could marry her. Stop spouting nonsense. Do you wish to die? Don't you know whose woman this is? If you continue your nonsense, you wouldn't even know who killed you. Whose woman? Miracle Dr. Wang of River Town. He's the most formidable backing of Lan Qingyue. That person is the real leading figure that could conceal the sky with a single hand. She's the woman of Miracle Dr. Wang of River Town. He is a legendary figure, number 1 on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart, and number 9 on the Miracle Doctors chart. He's a strong alchemist and an inborn expert. He killed an elder of Sacred Followers Guild, but he is still alive. With an order he could command 5 to 6 inborn experts. Even Maniac G of Rivertown listens to his command. SSS, I recall it now. Not long ago, Maniac G brought several families from Flow City to Rivertown, and annihilated a first-class family then. Miracle Dr. Wong of Rivertown is the most terrifying existence in the southern province. Not even Mogul Sun could compare to him. Killing an elder of Sacred Followers Guild? That's a sacred sect, for God's sake. When the crowd saw the arrival of Lan Qingyue and Lan family, they began to comment in whispers. Lan family had been in the limelight recently. Deep Sea Jewelry acquired the Zhou Jewelry at a meager price and became the largest jewelry company in the country. Their market value tripled instantly, stunning the entire jewelry industry. Some insightful people knew that it was all because of Miracle Dr. Wang's influence that the Deep Sea Jewelry could acquire the Zhou Jewelry. And the goddess-like general manager of Deep Sea Jewelry was well known by everyone, not only because of her beauty, but also because Miracle Dr. Wang had annihilated the first-class force for her. Miracle Dr. Wang was a name that could strike fear into everyone in Rivertown now. The crowd in the hall was discussing in low voices as they watched Lan Qingyue with envy and respect. When Wang Xian overheard the discussion, he gave a faint smile and walked over to Lan Qingyue. Her? That young man is walking towards them. Could it be a brainless rich dandy that wants to get to know Lan Qingyue? If he's really a rich dandy, he's obviously looking for his own death. That young man is even dressed in some ordinary casual outfit. He could be some rich dandy. I wonder which upstart family this good-for-nothing came from? Almost 80% of the people in the banquet hall were looking in the direction of Lan Qingyue. Lan family, with their comprehensive strength, could rank in the top 5 in the entire southern province. But that was under the circumstance of not taking Miracle Dr. Wang into consideration. If he was taken into account, none of the families in the southern province could compare with Lan family. Not even Mogul Sun's family. Provoking Lan Qingyue was equivalent to digging your own grave. Qingyue. However, what shocked them the most was when that casually dressed young man came to Lan Qingyue. Those few people from Lan family greeted him respectfully. Lan Qingyue was even more happy to take his arm. Xiao Xian. Lan Qingyue leaned on that young man and called out. Damn, that is. Miracle Dr. Wang's name is Wang Xian. That young man is. He's actually Miracle Dr. Wang. Gosh, Miracle Dr. Wang arrived here early, and he was in the banquet hall all along. Fuck. We did not expect to have someone so formidable hiding among us. If we knew Miracle Dr. Wang was here just now, we would have made friends with him. Regardless of whether the people were of the younger generations or the middle-aged generations, all of them were stunned, with regret on their faces. They did not expect that this person from Rivertown would be here. Chapter 410, The Son of the Richest Man. Chapter 410, The Son of the Richest Man, that guy is, oh gosh. Young Master Feng, Young Master Luan and Young Master Nan, who were sitting by the side, were astonished to see Lan Qingyue holding onto the arm of Wang Xian. I would never have expected him to be Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. We should have thought about it sooner. Maniac G doesn't have any friends. Among those he knows, only Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown could possibly give out level 2 and level 3 elixir pills as gifts casually. That guy is Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. If we knew, we should have. The three of them exchanged glances before looking in the direction of Ji Xiang and subsequently Wang Dahai. They hesitated for a moment before walking towards Wang Dahai. Hey brother, how are you? The three of them smiled radiantly and sat beside Wang Dahai courteously. From their tones, one could tell that they were trying to get on the good books of Wang Dahai. Wang Dahai was taken aback. He could vaguely hear the conversation of the surrounding crowd. Now that he saw three young men with powerful backgrounds walking towards him and sitting beside him, he felt a little overwhelmed and didn't know how to respond. Hello. I'm Wang Dahai. What did you say? At the other corner of the banquet hall, Wang Dahai's cousin Xiao Yu sat before an old man. She had just illustrated what happened previously to the old man. The old man was astonished and his expressions were changing rapidly. However, they rushed into the entrance of the banquet hall after hearing the conversations around them. Xiao Yu also looked across with doubts and was soon overwhelmed with surprise and shock. Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. The old man repeated himself. He looked to his granddaughter, took a deep breath and said, "Tell me exactly how you have offended him previously. Don't leave out any details." "Grandpa, we didn't know that he is Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. We really didn't." Xiaoyu shook her head in horror and repeated in detail the developments of the whole incident. The old man's expression changed rapidly. He looked towards where his grandson was and was taken aback once again. He saw the successors to the 3 elite families of Flow City conversing with his grandson joyously, smiles never leaving their faces. Dahai and Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown are classmates? The old man regained his composure and asked his granddaughter this. "Yeah. They seem to be on really good terms too. Grandpa, can you ask cousin to put in a word with Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown and ask him to let Jingshan off?" "Don't talk about this anymore." The old man interrupted her directly and stared harshly at his granddaughter. "Don't even think about this again. The one you guys have offended is Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. It's over for you guys. You should be fine as you are the cousin of Dahai. As for Jingshan and the other young men, they wouldn't be able to escape. If their families knew about this, they would know to handle it as such. Tiske, who asked you guys to be so full of yourselves and look down on others? Who gives you guys the guts to criticize Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown about his attire? A character like him isn't someone we can comment on. You can return home now." "What? Grandpa, you..." Wang Dahai's cousin was breaking down and looked at her grandfather in fear. "Just return home for now. If it wasn't for your cousin, you would be in deep trouble too." The old man glanced at his granddaughter and was a little disappointed. He then looked towards his grandson as excitement gleamed in his eyes. Who would have expected this kid to know Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown? He's much better than that poor father of his. The old man smiled contentedly as he mumbled to himself. "It's over. We are totally finished." When the group of young men saw the young man they had mocked previously at the entrance of the banquet hall, and heard the exclaims and conversation of the surrounding crowd, their faces were filled with despair. This time no one could possibly save them. Recalling how they were criticizing Wang Xian's attire previously, commenting on what made one more superior to others and also demanding him to get lost, the group couldn't help but feel great remorse over their actions. Even if Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown didn't attempt to do anything to them, with his current strength and status, the outcome would be the same. There would be others who would teach them a lesson. Their futures were bleak. "Xiao Xian, you are pretty early. Let's find a place to sit down." Lan Qingyue held onto Wang Xian's arm as they walked in. Wang Xian waved in the direction of Ji Xiang and Wang Dahai as he walked in. Wang Dahai was exhilarated and walked over in a hurry. His plump face was flushed from the sudden, intense exercise. At this moment he finally realized how incredible his brother was. He was simply incredible. Young Master Feng and his friends followed behind shamelessly and walked towards Wang Xian. "Qingyue, Miracle Dr. Wang. Are you guys going in?" Beside them, Lan Qingyue's uncle pointed to a private suite in the banquet hall and asked them this. "We will give it a pass. Uncle, you can go. We would like to stay here for a while," answered Lan Qingyue as she shook her head. Lan Qingyue's uncle smiled and nodded his head. With Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown around, Lan Qingyue wouldn't have to actively engage the guests. "Miss Lan, Miracle Dr. Wang, please take a seat." The moment Wang Xian and Lan Qingyue arrived at the forefront, several elders stood up and spoke. "Thank you." Wang Xian nodded his head and didn't stand on ceremony. He found a seat and sat down. "You're welcome. You're welcome." The few elders waved their hands instantly. The attention of the entire banquet hall had all gathered on Wang Xian. This was still the first time the majority of the people here had caught a glimpse of Wang Xian. Considering his achievements, he wasn't just the king of Rivertown currently. He was the king of the entire southern province. Within the southern province, no one was a match for him. Even Mogul Sun was miles away from him. Wang Xian, Lan Qingyue and Wang Dahai sat and chatted casually. Soon, a peal of hearty laughter reverberated from the private suite in the banquet hall, following which 3 young men walked out from it. The leader of the 3 young men had blonde hair and looked like he had parents with different geographical origins. The other 2 young men to his sides were rather slim. They looked alike and were conversing energetically with the young man in the middle. "That's the son of Mogul Sunday. I heard he has just returned from overseas. Some rumors have it that the son of Mogul's son has joined a powerful ancestral sect. I wonder if it's true. It's a rare occasion to see the son of Mogul Sunday. I had not expected him to return this year. The surrounding crowd looked at the mixed-blood young man and discussed softly. Wang Xian looked over curiously and his gaze fell on the three young men. All of them are martial artists? When looking across them he could feel strong energies from their bodies. The three of them were all exceptionally powerful. The son of Mogul's son was at most 23 or 24 years old. However, he already had the strength of a half-step to inborn expert. His talents were comparable to some saints and saintesses of sacred sects. As for the other two young men, they were roughly 33 years old. Both of them had reached the inborn realm and their talents could be considered to be terrifying. I wonder which sacred sect they are from. Wang Xian scrutinized the three young men. Considering their talents, they were definitely outstanding disciples raised by sacred sects. The only question would be which sacred sect they had come from. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.